Ah. What a damnable shame. Are we back? Hello. Yeah, sorry about that. That's my own fault. I shouldn't have done that. Anyway. I don't know. Come bring me a present, I guess. This is exactly why I wasn't trying to use Google Maps at all. I had this fucking Google Maps does annoying resets where it resets to your location. And in between me setting it and then going back, it resets, so that's alright. I'll live with it. Such is life. I'm seriously not the one under threat, so I don't know. You blinked really hard? Thanks. It's alright. I'll just be a moment while I change some things around. But we will get back on track with that in just a moment. It's not a great feeling, but such is life. I'm also going to be able to re-release something in just a moment, hopefully. Apologies about the delay to the stream. But, do you have a stream end button? I mean, I do, yeah. Don't worry, I've removed all that. But no, that is an unfortunately annoying part of doing map stuff there. Okay. I'm going to, just change some of these real quick, and then we should be good for release. If I just check to the end of that. Sorry, you can hear my own voice for a little bit.
And I'm seeing if there's anyone else sent me. Bought those people, I was headed some of the burnt out vehicles, they go closer and there's bodies. So
okay, cool. Yeah. I'm good to release that one. Alright. I'm going to just release something else in a moment. We'll get back into the live stream in just a moment. My apologies about that. But we should be alright. Fucking such is life. Such shit things happen. But believe me, I don't know. I'm gonna feel bad about it for about 2 minutes and then stop caring. Okay. I just need to re-release something real quick that I did in a little bit there. You need some Ukrainians protecting them? I mean, hey, if a Rusky wants to come to my house and throw down, let's get a real World Star out front. Anyway, let me I'm gonna have to repost the stuff on Twitter now because I've gone live again, unfortunately. So I'll have to just do that. My apologies about the delay, but yeah, well, I mean, fucking need to fix this real quick. That's my bad entirely. But hey, I've given it away, guys. I live in Australia. Right. There we go. Put that. And that there. And just quickly put up a screenshot. Okay, that'll do me for now. I'll release that. So that one's been re-released. Publish it. Let me just grab the link to the stream again. And I'll put that out live. Apologies about this delay, guys. But that is such as life, yeah. I wished I didn't have to deal with it. I'd prepped from this from last time, but live map really genuinely pissed me off enough that I went back to Google Maps. Good God. Anyway. Need to use Apple Maps, which I put 0 information into ever, so it won't even know where I am. Actually, no, I think Apple Maps automatically does it, but anyway. Okay. Alright, grab that.
does it, but anyway.
Rusky Spies got me. There we go. Oh. And okay, set there, easy. And set there. Okay. Alright. Yes, war, it did happen, yes. Alright, that's all set. Okay, that's set. Alright, I think we're back to operational capacity. Huzzah! Right. Let's just lastly put this back in the playlist. There we go. Okay, my apologies. I didn't want to have to do any of that live, and that seriously delayed the stream. But, yeah, well, fucking... That's annoying. Oh, well. There we go. Add that to there. And put that there. Alright. Done. Cool. Right, back to this. Let's carry on with what we were talking about. So, we're going to use live map now. I don't care if I lose the map. Such as life. That's just, I'll live with it. Alright. Over here, we have, on the east side, we have Kharkiv. That's where my contact was. This was assaulted quite close in the early stage of the campaign. God, live map, I wish it would just load. Let's just try this one and see if that's worked better. No. Okay. Quite early in the campaign, it was assaulted by some Russian armor formation, which was pushed back along the MO3. If I believe it's MO3, rather, if it can actually appear for a moment. I'll be able to recognize the road. It's a really nice one, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, so they were pushed back from there. Currently, Kharkiv has suffered the most bombing out of pretty much any city in the area. In Ukraine, rather. At least from the footage I've seen and from the reports of the people on the ground. There we go. If I can actually appear for a moment. Dear God. M20. There we go. That's where they were. They were along the MO3 and the M20. That's where the first, pretty much, at least as far as I'm aware, like actual genuine ground combat that was filmed took place. And there was pushback out of that area. There we go. Let's just slide this back over to here. Nice. Zooming out. Oh, no, the zooming in and out is literally just because the map loads on different layers. So I'm trying to load all different layers so I can utilize them. Like this, see? So each time I zoom in and out, that's it. See, that's a different layer. That's why only part of that's loaded. But if I zoom in, more of that's loaded. And I zoom in, more of it's loaded or whatever. So that's why I'm trying to, like, load them. But live map is not doing well right now. Anyway. So that was pushed back there. There was... sort of what's the reference? A disagreement over whether or not an air assault took place yesterday, but yes, it seems that overall there was an air assault onto a nearby a military hospital, rather, in the center of Kharkiv, which would make the latest, most likely VDV, what's it called, assault in the area. It's not my internet, it's literally just live map being crushed. Let's just bring this back. There we go. I will also promote my mods in just a moment. There we go. Okay, nice. Alright, just be a second. I'm just going to add the mods in, now that I've actually got the ability to do that. And we'll go have a look at the south as well. Right. Did the VDV assault fail rather badly? Yes, that's something I want to talk about later. Primarily about inter-service failure to cooperate, rather. Dear God, look at live map. I love it. Alright, I'm just going to add some more mods in real quick. There we go. Okay. Oh. Okay, was unable to find that one. That one. Nice. And that one. Nice. Okay. I've added a few. There we go. Alright. Okay, so carrying on. Let's just save those. Those guys should now be modded as well. VDV assisted suicide at this point. Honestly, it's been interesting that this sort of state we've seen from from what was considered the most elite of the elite, you know, the airborne, just being destroyed again and again and again. Right. So let's carry on with that. So in the south, so we've talked about the east now. Also, real quick mention to the Separatist front. The Separatist front has stayed very stationary compared to most other fronts. Mariupol is currently the most under threat, but it's mostly from the west where they're coming up. The Russians are coming up from Crimea. the separatists have not made major gains in the east. That makes the most sense as well, as this is a front that has essentially been static for quite a while and has been, what's called basically fortified by Ukraine. Like, this would probably be the worst place for anyone to attack, and the separatists, who are not first-class troops, are attacking there. Okay, over to here. So, Kherson fell last night, effectively. Like, obviously, I'm talking about my time. So Kherson fell last night, for me at least, but it was being kind of a debate back and forth. It fell originally in the early days of the invasion, and then afterwards the Ukrainians recaptured it. They have since lost it again to the Russian forces, and it seems to be the first major city in Russian control. There has been many talks. I've got a contact there as well we've been talking with. There has been many talks about what's called railroads being damaged as well. Basically bridges. I think over here there was a railroad blown across the river. Oh no, so it was up further north. There's been bridges blown. Apparently all of the bridges to Odessa have been destroyed. So it is going to be interesting to see what their next move is. Obviously their next assault was likely to be now what was I trying to say? Mykolaiv. Liav? My apologies if I mispronounced that. But if I can actually, dear God, all right. It's this city here, which is currently being obscured by this, but Mykolaiv, which may be the correct way of saying it. But that is likely to be the next, it's called target of these southern forces, and is absolutely, this is the front where the Ukrainians are performing the worst, unfortunately. It is a lot harder of a front for them to defend. There is a lot more territory, there is a lot more open land, and of course there is the risk of amphibious invasions. Now, amphibious invasions were claimed to happen in Odessa in the first days, actually in the first day as well. But that was proven to be false. There's just no, amphibious landings there. There was, however, later landings towards the east. I believe it was around Verdansk. Some of these were repulsed. It seems that some of them have succeeded, as there are now Russian Marines in the area. But the Russian Marines are actually something we want to talk about in just a little bit. It was already attacked by the VDV, and Seaborne invasion was repelled earlier today. Let's see, is that one? Is there any information about that here? Let me just do a quick check. I haven't heard about there being an actual attack today. I would be interested to see that if it is... didn't they just take Kherson right now? The Russians did, yes, not the Ukrainian. Unless, well, I know there is a Ukrainian counterattack attempting to retake it. But if they've actually... if they have genuinely retaken it, I've not yet heard that. In regards to the VDV landing in the ocean, as far as I'm aware, there is no actual source for that. There's something I'd like to talk about for misinformation part. That I don't believe there is any source that the VDV actually landed in the ocean and drowned. But anyway, we'll talk about that once we get to that section. Okay, so these are the fronts as they are right now. The north, east, and south. And of course the separatist front, which isn't so much worthy of talking about. Hold on a second. Oh, deliveries, okay. That is the general state of the war right now. The Ukrainians are holding above even my estimates. I was one of the people who, thought Ukraine was quite a modern army, that people, people assumed that they were just, a horrible, useless army, that, they had 3 AKs and maybe a tractor to share for the whole army. And I went, no, that's not right. They've actually got like a proper army. But even I could not have expected that they would hold this well for this long. They have done above and beyond. Most of that may be down to how poorly the Russians are performing, but these are the current state of the war, right? We're now going to move on to covering specific topics of notes, so we're going to go to part 3, and basically just go over all these big list of notes I've got and things to talk about, and things I want to go over. First and foremost is Romania. Now, there was a lot of sort of panic earlier today that the thought that Russia had downed a jet in Romania. Now, let me be clear. That has not happened. According to all reports, according to the Romanian Defense Ministry themselves, there was a MiG-21, which is an older, much older jet of the Romanian Air Force that was out on patrol, and it went down. It disappeared off radar. There was then a Puma aircraft, a search and rescue aircraft that was sent out to find them. That aircraft crashed as well. Unfortunately, all of the crew of that aircraft and the pilot, who in the MiG are reported dead right now. They were reported they died in the crashes. And it is just said to be that the reason for the crashes was bad weather. But that is just something to talk about. Yeah, I'm from Romania. The weather is terrible here. It fell due to weather conditions. That's fully what I expect. Yeah, there is very little reason for Russia to have downed just a random MiG-21. And these MiG-21s do not have a great, not crashing history, but it was a helicopter. Yeah, no. The second thing wasn't a plane. The Puma is a helicopter. Just to be clear, the helicopter was a second thing that crashed. That's why there was 5 crewmen that died in the helicopter. But yeah, that is something I wanted to speak about because that's the sort of thing that people are going, oh my god, it's attack on NATO. Russia has attacked NATO. No, they haven't. They have not attacked NATO. Yeah, that's just... It's bad weather. It's a horrible time for that to happen. There is no worse time for that jet to have crashed. But it is not a time for Russia to have attacked NATO. So yeah, that is just something I wanted to touch on first. Let's then move on next. Okay, Russia potential lockdown. So, let's pull up my piece about that. Oh my god, where is this? Sorry, I'm just going through this. Okay. Show this, yep. Cool. Alright. So, this is a thread speaking about the fact that people are expecting, and it depends on who you ask. Some people say Ukrainian media, some people say Ukrainian intelligence, some people are just general, it's called, what's the word? Inference. That Russia may be going into martial law soon. Okay? So, when we say about that, what we're talking about is there is a Federation Council is holding an unscheduled meeting on March the 4th. Some people have said it would be for anti-crisis laws. Some people have said not anti-crisis, but rather martial law. It does make a lot of sense in the sense that Russia is currently going to, and is leading into going into hell. Like, that is, it's not going to be good for Russia soon. Their economy is cut off from the rest of the world, so the sanctions are very strict. I believe there was recently talk that there's a chance they may default on their debt as well. There is a lot of shit that's going on there. Yeah, it is not a great situation, so I can fully understand, and obviously the anti-war protesting as well, I can fully understand why people are expecting to move into martial law. What is martial law? Okay, so there's multiple things that can happen during martial law. It really differs from country to country, but generally it's, intended a law put in during peacetime. So there's additional restrictions on civilians. Generally things like curfews will go into effect. Things like, working against the war effort will, be a major crime. That's already a major thing there. But so, for instance, these things happen in all wartime countries that happen, like if you look like World War War I, World War II, all those sort of things, you have people like, okay, you need to go blackout on your lights during night so no bombing raids hit you. You need to, what do you call it? If you're caught, reporting or sending information overseas, you'll get done for treason, etc., etc. Law enforcement conducted by the military for the successful, execution of a war effort. Whether or not it's needed in Russia, whether or not Russia want it, all that sort of thing, that's far more up for debate. There is currently, I do believe, let me just say this correctly. I do believe currently martial law is in Ukraine, which was part of their general mobilization. Let me just make sure I'm correct. Yes, martial law was declared 6 days ago in Ukraine, in order to keep to basically keep the war effort going. But that is, pretty standard for a country in wartime, which is why it's expected to happen. The fact that it's happening in Russia, though, is the part of that's a little bit more concerned because, at least to the Russian public and the Russian, the government as well, the idea was definitely a quick, decisive war. We get in, we win, and we leave, and that is it. That's, what the idea was. So yeah, that is the, what's it called? The current thought of what the Russian Federation Council will be doing when they meet. Okay, one thing I want to read out to you real quick. So this is something I've had. I'm going to talk for a moment about Russians themselves. Now, there are many Russians that have contacted me all throughout this sort of time, basically asking or telling their stories and all sorts of things. And I actually really do appreciate that as well. I think I've spoken to some of the Russians that have been thrown in jail for anti-war protests. I've spoken to some that, basically like what they find out about where they work, or, about how their experiences with their life right now, or how the food prices are skyrocketing there. I know some Ukrainians, and I do not blame Ukrainians for this. I don't blame Ukrainians for hating Russians, because their country is literally being bombed right now. Like, it's not something you can ever do. But Personally, I don't believe that demonizing all Russians is ever going to be a good idea. The best way out of the war is that if Russia doesn't want the war either, and Ukraine doesn't want the war, you're going to have an ending in which the war is, leading to a close. If everyone in Russia truly hates the war, and it's just Putin that really wants to keep it going, the war is not going to keep going. That's not to say everyone does. That is part of the reason why I want to read this. What's it called? Click on the orange scar. Is this the attack on the freighter? Yeah, I know. I'll talk about that in a moment. But yeah, there are Russians who are trying to do the right thing. There are people there who are just going to... There are people in Russia who are just as devastated by the fact that this war has started. Like, there are people who are going to run out of money, go into poverty. And I believe one economist said that they expect that the entire next generation of Russian youths are going to grow up in poverty because of the massive sanctions, and which are required if you want to end this war, but it's going to happen. People are going to be put into poverty, and I believe his statement was, I hope that they can forgive the world for what's happened, because there are going to be some people who have nothing to do with this war who are going to lose their money because of this. So I'm going to just paraphrase a lot of this letter because I don't want to reveal too much about him. I've already cut out the names and such of that. But this is a Russian student. He's a young man who sent this letter to me, and I've had, very similar letters sent. Okay. So, he says one of the most shocking things was that he was playing with his friends from Ukraine too, games that is, and the next hour they get the news that they're getting blown the fuck away with, oh my god, the war started titles and, articles and such. Bank blocks, warnings about money potentially maybe being stolen away by the oligarchs, hysterics, blitzkrieg. My friends who I was talking with 6-7 hours ago telling me they're being bombed. One of my closest friends was living in one house far away, and there was an inactive rocket that fell outside. Then we got deeper into the problems. Out here in Russia, it's a little hard to keep yourself in financial, I believe it's meant to say onus, but basically financial profit, alright? The COVID crisis, price raise, he speaks about how he's a young man, and he needed to take a couple of credits just to feed his family, pay bills, phone tariffs, and transport card, and just to get to his, his place of study. We did our first step out of what he refers to as the shit, basically, out of poverty. Sorry, family line. We did our first step out of poverty, and then this war crisis gets dropped in our head. Prices raises again, even higher. Shops, cinemas, banks, social networks, all the modern stuff started to get blocked. Here we go. To leave the country. Steam just set restrictions on a couple of restrictions on payment. Some of the banks just died. Ruble dollar course about to hit the sky and meet the Lord if he is out there. I quite enjoy that line. Every fucking day, shit just gets higher. Every fucking day, the Iron Curtain 2.0 is getting closer. It seems like we're going to lose YouTube within a couple of days, maybe a week. Russia is not prepared for this. The cool guy mask is just the clown nose. Latest news is scary. Government prevents other points of view. 15 years of losing freedom for fake news about the army. This is what people in chat have been mentioning earlier, about how if you're caught spreading fake news about the army, whatever that may be, whatever that's considered in Russia, it's considered 15 years in jail. That's the punishment. People in the demonstration got beaten by police because they're not supporting the line. People around the world say, come on, come to the demonstration. Go tell them that you don't support their actions. The police don't give you the police don't give a fuck. And they've already shown it a lot of times. I'm just scared. Scared to share my opinion on the net. I'm a fucking student. They may throw me out of university for this. So much money will be lost, and the mark of a traitor will be on my neck. But that's just half the problem. The second half is people. I've never seen or expected so many people to be such bloodthirsty, insane zombies. They support it, rather. I batted the all there, that was my bad. I read it from a different line. They support it. Moreover, they like it. Go, give them hell, slash the Nazi ho-holes, and all of them are Nazis. They don't want to see the reality. That artillery, even if it has good sights and crew, will hit shit around it. That we lose people. That not everyone in Ukraine is Nazi scum that needs to be cleaned. People say some of them are good, but the propaganda made them insane. I want to scream. They're insane. People in the Russian internet. That's so fucking scary. I'm confused. Every day is worse than the previous. Being involved in a historical event like this on the antagonist's side, it fucking sucks. That is one of many letters I've received. I've had messages from all sorts of Russians, from ones that have actually been thrown in jail for it, from ones that are just passively resisting, from ones that just don't know what's going on, from ones that actually appreciate my coverage because they are having a hard time finding out actual information about the war inside of Ukraine. So that's just something I wanted to touch on there. there are people here. I know that there are people on on the internet who are saying, I've seen this a lot on Twitter, especially from Ukrainians, and I understand. I'm not going to say the Ukrainians are wrong for doing this, for hating Russians, but people saying that fuck all Russians. We're going to like every single one of them. How dare they? Like this is we're going to get our revenge, all that sort of shit. But that's not the way out of this conflict. That's never going to be a good way to end this up. There are people in Russia right now being arrested as well for protesting. There are people opposing their own government just as the Ukrainians oppose the Russians. It's not a good thing that these people are going through it. It's never going to be a good thing that these people are going through this hell. It's required because otherwise the war will continue, and that's a much worse hell. But ideally, we'll have peace and these people can recover as well as the Ukrainians. Anyway, that's just something I want to touch on there. It's a horrible, horrible situation, but demonizing every single Russian for it is not the way I would say to go about it. Demonizing the ones in power, though, oh, absolutely. Demonizing the ones that continue, assaulting towns, that commit the war crimes, that, especially any sort of high brass that are ordering these sort of things, then yeah, that's something you can absolutely demonize. It's not like every single Russian except Putin is totally clean, but there are a lot of Russians who are very much opposing the war. Okay. Chernobyl post. Real quick, I'm going to post this. So people have talked about Chernobyl and about how they, various thoughts, various things. Oh, Russia's, creating a dirty bomb is one concept I've seen. Russia hit this with artillery, etc., etc., etc. A lot of misinformation around that. I'm going to post a link in chat right now. You can click on that one there. Oh, I have to also repost the Ukrainian Reddit one. Ukrainian Reddit, yeah. So that one I've just posted there. That is a link to a article by a someone who works and is educated in the decommissioning of nuclear plants, essentially, a nuclear waste. There we go. Let me just post this one again. I highly recommend you give that a read if you are concerned about Chernobyl at all. I don't really want to speak on it too much because genuinely I'm not educated on nuclear or radiation or anything like that in particular. But that is a very good source to have a look at and have a read through if you're worried about that. As far as we've seen, there is no, attempt to use Chernobyl to, I don't know, blow it up, or some people have claimed things like that where they're gonna, they're gonna detonate the sarcophagus and kill everyone. At the end of the day, Russian troops will die to radiation as easily as Ukrainian troops, and if they desired to, dirty bomb Ukraine, they could do it with an actual bomb. They have bombs. Like, it's not like Russia is hurting for nukes. So, that is something I'm kind of against at the moment, where I'm just talking about, like, just don't fearmonger about Chernobyl. Have a read, listen to what the people who actually work in the field are saying, because it's not a case of like, oh dear, Chernobyl fell, we're all gonna die kind of thing. Yeah. Anyway, so let's move to the next one. So I've got that one saved. Cool. That is something I do highly recommend people give a read. So Ukraine was, their application of EU membership was approved. If I can actually find. I'm not sure I've actually got one on the ready. But that was just something I'll mention. Ukraine applied to join the EU, and their membership was approved. They're not in the EU currently, and that is a thing that's going to take some time. They're going to build up. There's a bunch of steps you have to go through to actually joining the EU. They're not in the EU right now, but their application was accepted, and the European Union said that, yep, we're gonna let them in. So what that'll actually take, I'm not so versed in. I do know one thing was mentioned, that the process will take years. Yes, it's going to take a while no matter what. It was not approved. Hang on, let me check. I mean, I saw everything else, everything of what I've seen. It was approved. Ukrainian, European. Let me see. EU accepts Ukraine's application as Russia faces further sanctions. Yeah, that's what they're saying. They're saying they've approved. Like it's definitely been approved. It's not that they're in the EU. That's not a thing. It's not like they are now in the EU immediately, but they have to actually like move in with the process now. Except the application was accepted on the membership. No, but that's the thing. That's what I'm saying, is they're not in the EU right now. They are in the process of joining the EU. That is the state. That's what they have to go through the steps of actually joining it. One of the biggest things they have to do is change their laws and such to fit with EU laws. But yeah, that's just a thing to note that has happened. The proposition to instantly make them a member was not approved. Okay, yeah, no, that's not what I'm talking about. No. They are not already a member, but they are joining the EU. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. Now, this is one that is not, like, a confirmed thing, but there is talks in Finland, or rather with Finland, about joining NATO. There is no confirmed or anything about that yet. That's just something to mention. What's called the other day, there was some talk about that, about how the Finns were looking to move into NATO, and there was basically some negotiations with NATO about them. Whether or not they will join, it's harder to say, so I'm just going to take a seat. There we go. Whether or not they will join, it is harder to say. But that is something that they are looking into joining the EU. Oh, sorry, joining NATO rather. Whether that's just a a symbolic gesture, or even just a perhaps a diplomatic sort of, hey, look, Russia, we can join NATO, kind of fuck off to Russia. Whether that's actually what they're doing or whether they actually want to join NATO, etc., unclear thus far. But it is definitely something that is being floated right now by these parties. Okay. Russia hitting foreign cargo ships. Now it's time to talk about that yellow skull. Let's pull it back up. So, Russia has hit a Bangladesh-flagged ship in Olbia port. Now, the claim is that a crew member was killed in action. I've had some trouble verifying this thus far. There is... Let me pull open one of the files on it. That's the MiGs. No. Here we go. So, Ukrainian seaport authorities report that the vessel was struck, and it's called the authorities sent 2 tugs, but they believe there was no injuries among the crew. However, a Bangladesh newspaper said that one of the engineers, said the 3rd engineer of the vessel was killed during the attack, which would make the first time Russia has actually hit, I think, 3 extra. So this would be the 4th. So there'll be 4, just independent cargo ships thus far that have been hit in some way or another by a weapon launched by one of the combatants at this point. And I believe by one of the combatants, I mean Russia. They were all attacked at some point. There was one, I think, the 2 attacked by air, 1 attacked by a missile of some kind from a boat, and this last one appears to be a missile. So, yeah, at this point, if there is actually someone dead, that's far more serious, because thus far we've just seen damaged ships, but someone dying in an attack like this is a far more serious situation, and dear God, I would hate to be a merchant sailor there right now. Whether or not it's an accident, yep, I mean, I don't think they're intentionally attacking civilian vessels. I would hope not. I mean, I would assume not, because there's not really a gain for them out of it. Like, the best option, the only possible reason I can see for Russia to randomly attack civilian vessels is to try and scare them away from assisting, from shipping things to Ukraine, is about the only reason. But that seems like a terrible idea to risk either, like just a massive international incident, or, people going against, or, people going against Russia rather, or, people turning more to the side of Ukraine, or, anything of the sort. It is, something that I don't see as an intentional thing, but it is something that should never have happened. The fact that it continually has happened, the fact that it's happened 4 times now, in such a short period of time, that 4 it's called ships have been attacked. Alright. Up to next. Right. Oh yeah. Just a little note as we carry on. r/Russia has been quarantined on Reddit. This community contains a high volume of information not supported by credible sources. So there you go. It's just something I noticed as I was doing my research for the day. This is a pro-Russia subreddit on Reddit. Right. On to the next one. VDV and inter-service capability. Okay. Let's pull up these 2 things, shall we? Where are we? No, not those ones. No, those are civilians still in the tank. Oh yeah, here we go, by the way. I'll just show you the quick. This is where the MiG went missing, and this was the helicopter that went down trying to rescue the MiG. So there you go. Those are just 2 bits there. I'll just remove and carry on. Right. Okay. Has there been any confirmation the Ukrainian Navy was destroyed? I actually want to talk about that in a little bit. I'll get to that in a moment. Let's pull up some of these as well. Just going to hide this out. Okay. Here we go. This is the, this is reportedly, I'll just pull up on screen. This is reportedly the attack on the Bangladeshi ship. All right. I don't know if it's true or not, but this is just a footage that was claimed to be of an attack on the ship. So there you go. That was the ship that was struck by a missile. There we go. Let me just put that away. Okay. Put these ones. Okay, Russian Air Force and intelligence. Okay. So, didn't say Bengali? No, Bangladesh. Bangladesh was the ship, not Bengali. Okay, so here we go. So I'd like to talk about, first of all, the VDV, inter-service capabilities, and the Russian Air Force as well. Those are all sort of something I'm going to roll in together. The biggest thing that people are asking is, where is the Russian Air Force? The Russian Air Force claims, let me just see. The Russian Air Force, according to Wikipedia, has how many planes? Oh, no. Give me an aircraft of the Russian Air Force. I believe it's something like 3,026 or whatever they have available. If I just go aircraft procurement, here we go. Oh, those are future. Damn, hang on. There we go. 4,173 is the claimed total aircraft. Now, the big question is, where are those aircraft? Where are they? Because there are many questions about, why they've not managed to secure air superiority yet, why they've not managed to, actually destroy the Ukrainian Air Force, and why the use of their air support has been, honestly, quite limited to what you'd expect from such a superpower. Ukraine's Air Force is still flying, is still operational. Their air defense is still operational as well. But, here we go. Give me a second. Get out of here. There we go. Go away, bots. No one wants you. Okay. Alright. So, yeah, so there's basically different theories that's put forth thus far. One of the things Jesus Christ. Here we go, mods. If we can deal with these idiot bots, there we go. Right. One of the things I would say just thus far, sort of like the three big theories I have about this. First is that they simply don't have the fuel and the munitions to continue arming and flying all of their jets at the same time. Possibility. That's more speculation. I think that's one's less likely. I think personally it's going to be a combination of all three. But that's one of the sort of theories. They just don't have the logistics to keep them flying. One of them is the the reference that Ukrainian air defense is doing a lot better than people would honestly expect, and especially that Russians SEAD, so SEAD, suppression of enemy air defense, which is basically where an aircraft will destroy anti-aircraft installations. So, for instance, in the Yugoslavian, it's called wars and the breakup rather, where NATO was bombing Serbia, they had the Prowlers, which were intentionally sent out to jam radars and fill the air with ECM, and then bomb those sites. All those specific missiles done called HARM missiles, which are specifically used to target radars and basically blow those up. A SEAD. Well, yeah. Sorry, SEAD. I forget. I'm sure you notice I do the ground stuff in like when it comes to this. I'm not an air boy, but yeah, that is the intention of SEAD, is to destroy enemy air defense so that your rest of your aircraft can have a fun time. That seems to have basically failed the Russians. Either their SEAD is terrible, or it's just not up to standards, or maybe they don't have enough of it, or anything like that. But that is pretty much a situation where the Russians may not have had enough anti-air air suppression equipment available. That's another theory as to why they're not, just all out in droves. And the last theory, and one that I sort of floated, and I don't fully agree with, but it's another, as I said earlier, it's probably a combination of all three, is that they maybe just don't have the aircraft they claim they have. The same thing was with Russian tanks. Often they claim they have, let's say you claim you have 10,000 tanks, right? I have 10,000 tanks, and, that's in my army, right? But what actually are those tanks? Is it 6,000 T-72s, 100 T-14s, and then the rest are some old tanks that really belong in a museum kind of situation? It is highly possible rather, that a lot of their aircraft are seen that same way. That the aircraft they're claiming they have are not modern aircraft, or they just keep counting these aircraft that as if they are real, active and operational ones. Okay, so here we go. This one. This is in reference to the VDV and the inter-service sort of capabilities of Russia right now, which are not good. Russian forces are oftentimes broadcasting in the clear, so much so that people can just pick up and listen to them. There's been reports that there's not enough long-range communication equipment for their troops to actually coordinate with their command, or work with their work with their forces. There was some units have been discovered as well using civilian radios, which in turn were then jammed by civilians. People have been listening into their comms. People are listening to their strategic bomber communications. That's how people knew ahead of time that, holy shit, Russian strategic bombers were in the air. People have been listening into the tank communications. There's that quite now famous clip of a Ukrainian and a Russian tanker insulting each other over the radio. There's been a lot of this, and sort of the theory is that part of the reason behind why the VDV are performing so terribly is that they're basically performing independently. That they're moving off, they're doing their things, they're trying to take airports, etc. But please let the clipping insulting each other. I'll see if I can get it later. But they're having serious issues actually working together, getting ground support from their units actually coming in, lifting the airport siege, getting air support from any branches like that, and actually having communications with command. We've seen lots of POWs report that they just don't have communications with their command anymore. They don't know where they're going, and other such situations where the radio communications are breaking down heavily. Another part of that is, as someone just mentioned in chat, E-war and jamming. Actually, one of my contacts has been jammed in contacting me. The Russians were jamming in the south near Kherson, and that actually fucked up our communications with one of my contacts. I was unable to talk to them for quite a while because of the jamming. When the Russian jammers moved away, we were able to talk again. So it is highly likely that is part of the major failings of the Russians in this war, and one of the reasons why the VDV seem to be just insane at this point is that they keep airdropping onto points with just no support, and they can't get the support they need. Or, units pushing ahead of other units without any mutual support or any armor coming up to help them. So it is highly likely that situation is affecting all the branches. Depending on... I fully expect the more, high quality troops probably have full radio communications, but even some of the troops are just caught with Beifang radios, which are a basic commercial sold radio that they're being found. So this thread is a really fascinating one. I'm actually just going to post it just because it's a really good read if you like talking about communications radios and that sort of interceptions. So they speak about various things I've intercepted here. For instance, here is one of the ones. During the fight west of Kiev, we learned there was an FOB in Livia Yovkovka. Jesus, my apologies on that manglement there. To which Yugt 95 were being sent to bring the 200 killed in action and 300 injured. But yeah, this is essentially just they're consistently showing a disturbing lack of coordination, as this guy says here. Firing at each other. Their radios are being listened in on. Their radios are being jammed. It is insanity that they're being sent in with this poor communication equipment. Will this be a VOD? Yeah, it'll be staying up on the channel. Okay, so that is talking the VDV in the Air Force. Let's move on. Okay, the Russian ruble drop. There has been a run on the banks in Russia. A lot of people are essentially just grabbing as much money as they can out whilst they can. I've also read a few reports of people just going like, well, I'm leaving Russia. It's not worth it to stay. And that is where this thread comes in. This was a translation done by a man to English from a professor, Professor Maxim Mironov, sorry. But essentially, he goes into here and he talks about the various effects that it's going to have on the Russian economy. Everyone who can leave the country is going to start leaving. In fact, they're already leaving. The government understands this, so it's brought in today a range of measures to keep IT workers in country, except they won't work. Therefore, soon it's very likely the government will bring in exit visas for certain categories of citizens or just completely close the country. I somewhat agree with this. One major thing he makes here, I'm going to post this in chat as well, just for you guys to have a agree. Like, there are some very good points. One major point I heavily agree with here is he brings up planes inside of Russia will stop flying. Now, that is actually a very real risk. If you don't know, plane maintenance and plane repair is a very, very intensive job and requires shit tons of money. Like, shit tons of money and experience and parts and all that sort of stuff. It's one of the biggest expenses. That alongside jet fuel, right? And I think it was Boeing just the other day announced that they're just stopping all operations in Russia. So they're not going to be fixing the planes anymore. And that is absolutely a major risk that you're going to see, that planes just can't fly anymore. If they break down, they won't be fixed, or if they take not gas, but more that they won't be serviced. And to give you an idea, planes are generally serviced very, very often. So whether we're going to see planes ignoring safety and moving on without them, that's something. Airbus has stopped providing parts as well. I haven't heard about that, but I imagine it has probably happened. There you go. Multiple people saying Airbus, suspending parts. These are the sort of things you just never really think about when you're thinking about like a global economy. That without Airbus and Boeing, their planes are not going to run. Most of them, at least. I have no doubt there are some that are Russian made, but overall, most of the most aircraft sold internationally come from very few countries. Thank you, Winamp. No, I don't want that. Go away, Winamp. All right. So that is something that I think was like a really fascinating thing, that just sort of something you may not think about when you think about international sanctions. But yeah, I think I've posted it in chat. I'll post it again, but I do highly recommend you guys give this a read. It's a bit long for me to go through every single step, but yeah, this is a quite fascinating read about the current state of the Russian the ongoing state of the Russian economy, rather. Okay. Russian stock market. This is just a general note. The Russian stock market is frozen until the 5th of March. That's 2 days from now. They'll reopen on the first day. I think it was the first day they dropped. Well, they were frozen until later that day. But on like the first time they opened, I believe that was the first day. And I may be misquoting here, so my entire apologies. But it doesn't particularly matter what time it was, whether the first or the second. The first time it opened, the Moscow exchange dropped 60%, and the ruble dropped, I believe it was 30%. It's gone up and down as time's gone on, but it is cratering their economy. And it's already showing with the spiking food prices and people like leaving the country. I've read a few reports of businessmen basically packing up and going, I'm sorry, employees, but I'm leaving. Like, I'm leaving Russia right now because we are not going to have a business in about a week. We're just not going to have any money. But yeah, that is a major issue that they're facing right now with the stock market crash, and that's why it's frozen, to avoid further trading. Switzerland also gave out sanctions. That was something to remark on. Switzerland initially, I believe, said they wouldn't be joining with the sanctions, and then actually joined with the sanctions, which is, I mean, hell, the famously neutral country joined in. So nice work there, Switzerland. That's just something I was gonna add there. Can you explain the various map icons? They're just used for various references. For instance, rifles are usually used for conflict whenever there is some people fighting in an area. Bombs are used for when a bomb drops, but they're not specific. They're not like, oh, this is exactly what this is. For instance, this skull here reports on a Russian Navy launching a missile strike on a Bangladesh flagged ship. If you want to look at this map, it's live UA map. You can just go and find it on Google. But yeah, that's just something to remark on there for the things. The airspaces over the European Union and the USA have been closed to Russian aircraft as well. Now that's quite major as well when it comes to not only just passengers, but, you know, cargo and shipments as well. If there was anyone who was going to, you know, still sell things to Russia, now that's significantly harder with the airspaces cut off. Of course, there is still, you know, what's the name for it? Shipping, which will, you know, you can't exactly cut off international shipping. But yeah, there is just so many, like in almost every field you can think of, Russia has been sanctioned. Right. There were indeed prefabricated Russian victory articles. I'm not sure if you guys have seen those. I'll see if I can pull them up real quick. This is just something I wanted to laugh at, just to give an idea of how much they really intended for this war to be over already. Let's see, because fuck, I'm not finding it. Here we go. Russian state media deleted an article after suggesting Ukraine victory was achieved. Here we go. I'm just gonna make sure No, we're good. Okay. Yeah, here we go. So let me just pull this up. All right, it's all good. So yeah, this article was put out the other day. The theory is that it was just set to release automatically after 2 days. I'm not 100% sure. Like, that is possible that someone fucked up that bad, that someone genuinely screwed up that bad and said, just auto-release it after 2 days. I'm not 100% sure on that. I think if more than anything, this is like someone who would be protesting. But you know, I can't prove that either way. It's one of those things where you can't really know. But the article did go up and basically claimed about how, you know, thank God Ukraine is back inside of Russia, and, you know, all that sort of stuff. Meanwhile, they were still stuck miles outside of Kiev. So, you know, news sites have prefabricated articles for everything. Yes, absolutely, because they want to get it. They want to get released the moment it happens. They pre-write articles, but this one being released is a definite moment of like, oh wow, I can't believe they did that kind of thing. But yeah, there are several articles such like that people have spoken on there. Now, the loss of the Mirai. Let me show you this beautiful plane. This thing is the largest plane in the world, the AN-225. Now, there has been a lot of talk over whether or not this actually was destroyed. So the report is that the airport it was hailed at was bombed, and it was destroyed by Russian artillery and Russian strikes. I personally believe that it was destroyed. From all the evidence I've seen, it was destroyed. Like, that's just... But the reason why I say this, like, you know, speaking of... Because if you look here, right now, there are articles saying it may not have been destroyed. But if I show you this article, I think this article is entirely untrustworthy. I do believe... Yeah, I absolutely agree it is destroyed. I don't know why they would lie about it being destroyed. Surely they'd be like, oh, thank God it lived. I don't know, but there are people still claiming that it's not destroyed because, look, you can see the tail. I'm going to keep it real with you, person who wrote this article. If a bomb lands here, it doesn't matter if the plane was directly hit or not. The plane is still destroyed, or if not, is destroyed for, like, months while it's repaired, because shrapnel going through a plane is bad. Is very bad. So, hold on a second. Photo's blocked by overlay? No, it's not. It's right there. That's the photo. Oh yeah, here we go. Darkry just sent me the OSINT proof as well. Here we go. So this is what some people... I'll just hide away my screen real quick. There you go. We'll just hide away these. These are basically just, you know, structures showing the plane actually being hit. And yeah, just... I don't believe that... that I trust random articles claiming that it's still alive. Sad as it is, I do believe the plane is destroyed. Alright. So we'll close those all away. The best case is just inoperable, yeah, but it's likely going to be destroyed. It's kind of one of those situations where most likely it's going to cost less to just rebuild it than it would be to replace something like that. Like, you just never want to do that again. You just rebuild it instead. Okay. So that is that one. Over to next. Significant amounts of hacks and cyber war taking place. Yes, this is something it's harder to confirm, but there have been claims. For instance, there was a hacker group that basically showed a picture of them claiming they took down the Russian satellite network as in genuine, that the satellite network used by Russia to monitor their spy satellites. Whether that actually happened or not, it's hard to say. A lot of that is, whether it's hackers claiming they did things or whether they actually did actual damage, so on and so forth. But it is interesting. You'll continue to see this. There was a lot of obviously far more obviously improvable stuff, like websites being taken down, websites being filled with porn or gay Putin or whatever, etc. Those sort of things happening, which in public websites, which you can check. So there is whether or not people think people have gotten deeper, I don't know, but there is currently a lot of hackers attacking various points in Russia. One thing that was actually that is confirmed as well is what's called the release of documents. So there was a bunch of Ministry of Defense usernames and passwords leaked and just released out in the public. There was also I think it was a different maybe one of the Kremlin sites was hit and had their information released as well. And those ones are here we go. A list of 120,000 troops got leaked. I haven't heard that one. There you go. Apparently the Russians plan for this war to take 2 weeks. Yeah, we'll get to that in a moment. That's actually one of the things we want to speak about. That's it was 15 days. But really it seemed that they wanted the war to be over in about 2 days, kind of thing, like the big defeat. So yeah, currently those Russians are as exposed as I am. Turkey is limiting Black Sea access. Now, I spoke about this earlier, but I was wrong when I originally spoke about it, and I corrected myself on Twitter. Turkey essentially has control of the Bosphorus Straits, and there's a bunch of treaties controlling what they can say about these straits. This is this area here, right, where you can cross between, if I can zoom out, where you can take a boat from here into the Black Sea, right? And there's a bunch of treaties controlling it. What they have done is they've stated that they've restricted all warship access through the Bosphorus Straits. The only thing, according to the treaty, that's allowed to happen now is that the Russians are allowed to return back through the straits to their home ports. The Ukrainians are not allowed to travel through the straits as well. But overall, this is clearly a strategic decision where it's better for the Ukrainians to have the Bosphorus closed than it is for it to remain open. Whereas for the Russians, it's much worse to have that closed. So, that is the current state there. I originally stated they'd closed it, but at the time they had not. They have now said that they've closed it. And they're asking that the nations engaged in the warfare respect their closure to warships. The Criminal Court is opening investigations on Russia, yes. So the International Criminal Court is investigating Russian war crimes in the area. Some of those I have posted about on my Twitter. I obviously will not be showing those on stream. They are fucking horrific. That's the only way to go about them. Some of the worst footage I've seen yet has been on my Twitter page. I posted about it. It was the father, his son, and their dogs. And we're going to need more detail on that, but that is something that's being opened up, and there are currently investigations into war crimes in Ukraine. What is the stinger icon? The stinger icon is just the US giving stingers to Ukraine. There you go. So if I just adjust that there we go. Okay. Next up. Now, this was a big one, actually. This was something that was claimed a lot and has since been reversed. Politico. I'll talk about them in a bit. But the claim was, well, actually, not a claim, but like a genuine plan was that the Europeans were going to donate fighter jets to Ukraine. That plan, however, fell through. That plan, it seems, they were seeming to get about 60 MiGs to Ukraine. They were going to go to Polish air base and then fly into Ukraine. It seemed that plan has fallen through entirely. So it's not that this was fake. It was just that it was going to happen. It was announced. It was said. And then they went back on it. So, yeah. It's basically a situation where that is not likely to occur. Whether or not they will give jets in the future, hard to say. I'm not entirely sure why they backed out on it. But they're all just saying now, oh, it's a chance that maybe in the future we might kind of situation. But yeah, those jets that were going to go and actually fight go to the Ukrainians. Link to the article, sure. Here, there you go. If you want to have a read of that, there we go. But those are no longer being sent. How do they even fly them in without calling? You can same way you get everything else. Like Christ, you can fly the Ukrainian pilots would go and get them, and then they would fly them and land in Ukraine. There was one reference I saw, which I very much didn't trust, that they were going to fly combat sorties out of Poland which I found very strange, and I was amazed to see as many people as I saw stating it, but that clearly is not taking place now. Right. Moving on to the next one. Rocket strike at Kiev radio tower, and also the Holocaust monument, but primarily in this case, the Kiev radio tower. This is something I want to speak about because that's happened elsewhere. The Holocaust monument, that's just horrible. I don't think they were intending on hitting it, but it's something that has happened. The radio tower, though, I very much do believe they intended on hitting. So it was the same thing in Kharkiv, as well as in what's called Kiev. That the Russians have targeted radio towers, TV towers, basically any communications network. The Russians are attempting to cut off communications, internet, TV, that sort of thing in the area. That is something that is taking place in Kharkiv. I believe, actually, if I look down here, one of these strikes is reported about it. Let me see. Yes, here we go. So this airstrike 10 hours ago right here is a strike at Kharkiv TV tower. Some channels now offline. So there you go. That is the current state of the targeting. They're very much... They've moved on... what do you call it? They've moved on just from, specifically bombing airfields and military bases. There is now serious bombing in Kiev of civilian targets, as well as what's it called? More strategic things. We've seen police stations be knocked out. There was the missile strike that struck the center square of Kharkiv and killed, I believe, 10 people and wounded 40. That was the kill count I read at the time. They hit the center square of Kiev and the one of the government buildings. Do you have any dirt on whether the Ghost of Kiev is legit or not? He's not real. He's just not. Like, I'll get into it more when we talk to misinformation stuff, but he's just not real. Anyway, so that's what do you call it? Is has been where they've switched the targets to. Overall, the bombing, so the artillery rather, seems to have stepped up seriously in the last few days. My contact in Kharkiv has been sending me what do you call it? More footage of the strikes, and some of them are just landing like real close to his area. 700 meters from him was one of the closest ones, and he just lives in an apartment block. There's nothing there to strike with artillery, kind of thing. It's getting to the situation where the artillery game is stepping up like heavily, which is a lot of analysts kind of expected, because Russia is seen as an artillery army. So, it is expected that that sort of artillery situation is going to step up as they are denied access to cities. As they're pushed back from cities, it's expected that they're probably going to move into using further and further artillery. You have a contact? I've got multiple in country. I have some of just my friends, and I've had some that contact me since then. That's where I get a lot of my information from, and where I work with these people, and just hopefully see them out safe. Right. What was the other thing I was going to say about strikes? We covered that one. Yes. Okay, this is something to mention about the TV stuff. This is the one here. So I'm just like ordering my list. Elon Musk. Now I know some of you may hate him. I don't particularly care. I'm just going to give you the actual news. He's set up Starlink within Ukraine and has donated a bunch of Starlink boxes, which is actually... Now, please don't consider me one of the fucking fanboys or something from it, but is genuinely quite a good idea. Having consistent internet connection inside of the war zone, and actually having a, what do you call it? Having a, what's the word? An uninterruptible, an uncuttable way to get news out, which is an important thing, is vitally important to this area. Not only for things like OSINT, for things like, warning for evacuations, for things like, just finding out what the current news is, like, is my town currently under the control of Ukrainians or the Russians, but majorly for reporting war crimes and preventing the cover-up of such operations, If no one can say anything, no one can send out a message, then it's much easier to hide the horrible things that you're doing. If someone can film it and upload it to the internet, it's significantly harder. Right, so let's talk there. Ukraine that's actually something I haven't talked about, but I will quickly mention that, about Ukraine refugees being turned away at the border. Now, I personally have not seen anything like that where they've been genuinely turned away, but what is currently the case is that if you are... Let me just make sure the correct number. I'm just going to check my... I believe it is 18 to 60. I think it's 18 to 60. if you are 18 to 60, it is currently illegal for you to leave Ukraine. Which is pretty... It may sound horrific, but it's actually kind of one of those standard things that happens during a wartime situation. When a draft and, you know, a general martial law is kind of locked down. The reason being is that if you're 18 to 60-year-old male, you need to stay and fight, is the answer. I thought it was removed. Currently, it's not. If it is removed, I would love to hear that update, because there are some refugees who are trying to get out of country for whatever reason, who can't fight or unable to fight, or just do not wish to fight. Those people are trying to get out of the country. No, not for both genders, just for males. Just for males. 18 to 60, just for males. Yeah, trying to get out of the country. So those people, technically leaving the country is illegal for them right now. So whether or not they can get across the border, whether or not they are being stopped at the border, this is sort of stuff, it's really hard to see. I've yet to see hard evidence from one side or the other. Basically, like, I've heard some people claim that, but I've not seen it. I've been trying to look into it, and I would, if anyone has that sort of stuff, go post it in the stream questions if you have, like, videos or hard evidence of certain situations on the borders. But yeah, that is a situation a lot of Ukrainians are going to currently face if they want to flee the country as a refugee. Especially, even if they do leave, they may not be able to return because essentially they've committed a crime by leaving. And it's unfortunately not the sort of crime that you want to commit if you want your countrymen to respect you. Now, again, it's not the situation where, like, some people are fleeing because they have genuine reason to not fight. Not because, like, they're, oh, I'm so afraid of the war and I don't want to fight for my countrymen, or some, you know, which some people are painting them all as. Some people can medically not fight. Some people are unable to fight. Like, for whatever reason, whether unfit or medically unable, or they have, like, family that needs them elsewhere, something like that. There are many reasons why someone would not want to fight and join the war. But they are restricted by the same laws. So, yeah, situation there. As a true Belarus president leaked the plan to invade Romania. Not in Romania, no. You're confusing Moldova and Transnistria, I believe is how you say it. Or rather, to say it correctly, Unital Administration Territorial Din Stringa Nistria Tula Administrative Territorial Units from the left bank of the Dniester. Essentially, it's a region of Moldova that's kind of separatist and broken away, and there is already a Russian presence there, and Russia has already announced, yes, we're going to do a peacekeeping operation in the area. It's not, I don't think that whole map that the Belarus dictator showed is a massive reveal or anything. The main reason being that actual invasion maps are significantly more complex. I do think it was still a dumb thing to do, but I don't think that it's actually like a genuine invasion map. I just think it was, it was a, something he wanted the map to point at kind of situation. But yeah, it does appear that Russia has intended to, once they, reach that border, to occupy that territory as well. Likely with the support of the people there, because again, they're already on the Russian side. Okay. UN vote. Okay, the UN vote, let me pull that one up real quick. And actually, we're going to pull up 2 UN articles right now. The UN voted to condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine and call for withdrawal. This passed the General Assembly, not the Security Council, because once again, Russia has a veto in the Security Council, so anything that Russia doesn't like is not going to get passed. So Russia vetoed it, it moved to the General Assembly. The General Assembly said, yep, we support this. There was 141 of the 193 member states voted for the resolution. The resolution states that UN deplores in the strongest terms the aggression by the Russian Federation against the Ukraine. It demanded the Russian Federation immediately cease its use of force against Ukraine and immediately, completely, and unconditionally withdraw all military forces. Here's the problem. The resolution is not military binding. It's not legally binding, rather, so not militarily binding, not legally binding, but it's an expression of views of the UN membership. So, yeah. Overall, as someone's in the chat there, Serbia did vote yes, which is huge. Yeah, it is a good sign. It is still a thing that, it's still a good thing that all of these countries have come out in support of Ukraine. That so many people have come out to say that. But, unfortunately, yes, it's not actually going to do anything right now. However, that was still a good moment, and it's a thing that is, the fact that most of the world is behind them, save for, here we go, the nose were Belarus, Moscow, of course, Belarus, North Korea, Eritrea, and Syria. Like, that's it. Long-standing allies Cuba and Nicaragua joined China in abstaining. So China and Nicaragua and Cuba didn't even say no, they just abstained instead. So overall, it's a good sign that so many countries are behind Ukraine, but it's not going to actually do anything. It's more just an announcement of support for Ukraine. Also, this one is just kind of a fun thing to show. Dozens of diplomats walked out during one of the Russian foreign minister's speech at the UN. So, good old Sergei Lavrov over here got up and started doing his speech, and there's a lot of videos on Twitter of, I think actually, is this, you're going to play? Please don't make a noise. There you go. There you go. These are the videos. It's just all the diplomats walking out the moment they started speaking. The Russian, diplomats started speaking. Just something I wanted to show real quick, because I think that one's quite amusing. And is also it's a powerful tool in when it comes to debating, of simply just walking away from your opponent. Right, Russia. Yep, okay. The Ukrainian UN rep. I'm going to get up that footage real quick. Now, this is something that was discovered the other day. Here you go. Let's take this. There you go. Okay. Okay, I think I can show this one. It's just going to be... Here we go. I'll just get this one, this picture. There we go. Okay, so this UN rep, this is the same guy who dropped the incredible line. It was, "There is no purgatory for war criminals. They go straight to hell," at the end of his speech as the invasion of Ukraine began. This guy has actually been a seriously incredible speaker in everything I've seen, and is very, very much a skilled diplomat and ambassador. But he did a speech at the UN where basically he read out the texts on that paper. There is texts between a Russian soldier who was killed and his mother. And the text basically contained the Russian soldier saying, like, "Holy shit, I'm not in Crimea anymore. This isn't an exercise. I'm actually at war. We're in Ukraine. We're shooting. People call us fascists. They're throwing themselves under our tanks to try and stop us. Mama, I'm scared." And it's a seriously fucked up texting thread. I thought it may have been faked until I saw more sources pick it up, and basically, it was genuinely read outside of the UN. But this is the situation where it seems like a lot of the Russian soldiers genuinely do not know what is going on. Like, that it is a repeated fact with the POWs where they're saying, like, genuinely that they don't have any idea of what they're doing. Thanks for 2 copy paste. If you can show me an evidence, I would love to hear it. If you can correct me on this, if it is fake, I would love to know. How do you prove it's real? I mean, that's the hard thing to prove it's real. But the thing is, at least from the POW things thus far, we'll talk about misinformation in a moment. If you can genuinely provide it, I would love to correct it, and I will take back everything I've said on this. But from the POWs thus far who have been captured, have been claiming that they genuinely have no idea where they're going or what they're doing. A lot of them are saying that they were expecting, that they were just going to, walk in and the Ukrainians were meant to accept them, kind of thing. These sort of situations, yeah. So there's a lot of that. I would love, if you do have an actual evidence, please post that shit in the stream questions, and I'll very much go through that. I would be very keen, because again, I'm looking for the truth here. That is my sort of situation there. That's the reason why I'm talking about these texts, is because they've come across everywhere. So it was a copy-paste from 2chan. Now, I mean, I'd love to say that, but I can say it's a copy-paste from 4chan as well. Is there evidence of that? And I would love to see that if that is true. Right. There's a chance Russian bots might be targeting the ships. I know they always are. They will be. TB2s. The drones. Now, these are something I brought up in the first stream about how I thought they were going to be quite impactful. And dear God, I was apparently right. More right than I could have imagined. The Bayraktar TB2 is a Turkish drone that performed really well in the Azerbaijani-Armenian war. This drone here. There you go. You can see the picture. This one basically performed just insanely well in the it's called Azerbaijani-Armenian war, where the Azerbaijanis had them and the Armenians were pretty much unable to shoot them down. These things have been performing incredibly well, and there's been lots of footage of them now since then, them striking fuel convoys and logistic convoys and even anti-air vehicles. There is indeed, yes, a song. I don't think I'm going to get demonetized for playing it or copyright struck, so I'm going to play it. I'll take a quick break, have a drink, and look through some of my stuff while I play this. But unironically, they played a Bayraktar song. The Ukrainians have made one, so let me just pull that up real quick. Here we go. Oh, that one's got. There we go. This one. So this is a song made for the TB2. Actually, hang on. I'm just gonna real quick check. I just realized that the video may have bodies in it. Let me just do a quick scan. That's some... Yeah, no, okay. I can't show the footage, but I'm just going to put the music on, alright? Just because... I'll post it in chat as well if you guys want to see the footage, but yeah, I just realized that may get me beamed for YouTube, sorry. Alright, so I'm going to put this on, I'll read through this, and I'll have a drink, and then we've got a few more points to cover, and then we're going over to misinformation, and then we can go to the messages. Alright, so here's the song.
Прийшли окупанти до нас в Україну, форма новенька, воєнні машини, та трохи поплавився їх інвентар. Байрактар. Байрактар. Російські танкісти сховались в кущі, щоб лаптям посорбати довбані щі, та трохи у щах перегрівся навар. Байрактар. Байрактар. Зі сходу припхались до нас барани, для восстановлення великої страни, найкращий пастух баранячих отар. Байрактар. Байрактар. Їх доводи, всяке озброєння, різне, ракети, потужні машини залізні, у нас на всі доводи є коментар. Байрактар. Байрактар. Вони захопити хотіли нас зразу, і ми зачаїли на орків образу, з бандитів російських робить примар. Байрактар. Байрактар. Російська поліція справи заводить, та вбивцю рашистів ніяк не знаходить. Хто ж винен, що в нашому полі глухар? Байрактар. Байрактар. Веде пропаганду кремлівський урод, слова пропаганди ковтає народ, тепер нове слово знає їх цар.
Sorry, I was saying that if you want the translation, please go watch the video yourself. It is quite something, and it's a good little bop. I do like that the chat is now just Bayraktar right now. But yeah, there was some unfortunately quite bad footage that would likely get this live stream beamed if I revealed it. Sorry. Okay, I just went over some of my notes there as well while we're doing that. It gave me a nice little break to look over some of that and have a drink of water. But yeah, the fact that these are still operational is insane. One of the most impressive clips I've seen thus far was it posted? Hang on, I can send it again. There we go. There you go. It's been sent again. It's in the chat. Catch it before it disappears with the Bayraktars. So, one of the most impressive things I've seen it done thus far is engage Russian air defense. The Russian air defense seemingly just couldn't see this drone that was flying overhead, and it just starts knocking them out. I am amazed that they're still around. Because we didn't hear about them for the first few days of the war, I figured that they must have been destroyed on the ground or otherwise knocked out of the air, and, Ukraine was keeping it hush-hush kind of thing. But yeah, it turns out they received more today. You're absolutely right, Shocky Milk. They have actually been shipped more, the Bayraktars. So this drone may genuinely be the most effective aircraft of the Ukrainian army for this war. It is insane how effective these drones have been. For what is effectively a cheap drone that seems really quite not... Nothing is invisible to radar, but it seems hard to pick up on radar and genuinely shoot down. And is able to loiter and knock out these Russian formations. It is actually insane. It is truly ludicrous that these things are doing as well as they're doing, and I'm willing to bet that Turkey right now is probably mass producing these for sale, like just pumping them out, because so many people will want one now. Like, after Azerbaijan and Armenia, you could say, like, oh, you know, just Armenian air defense was shit, even though it was Russian, which is part of the reason why people were so interested in studying the conflict, because it was Russian air defense failing to destroy Turkish drones. But holy shit, this is a different scale of how effective these drones have been. So, yeah, that is something very interesting. If you're at all interested in sort of, you know, aviation technology, it's a cheap, incredibly effective drone. So, yeah, Ukraine started the war with, allegedly started the war with 18 drones, and are up to 30. So somehow they've gained drones. Yes. Well, because they've been shipped them. They were meant to have an order of, I believe, 50 in total before the war started. Like, that was what they'd ordered to you know, have sold. But yeah, it is I think base, you have to send me in mod chat, send me your YouTube channel ID. I need your channel URL, sorry, to give you mod. Okay. So, what's up next? Bayraktar. Looting, yes, looting is happening. I've seen, so obviously there is a lot of Ukrainians who are like, who are very much appreciative, particularly in Kiev. I've seen a lot of messages from people in Kiev about how nice it's been, despite the fact that there is a war, and that people are behaving themselves, people are not price gouging, people are looking out for each other, that sort of thing is nice. But at the end of the day, there will always be opportunists in this war, and there have been looters thus far, civilian looters. One such I saw, I think, was tied up in, I believe it was Kharkiv. He was essentially like, it was packing tape, but you know what's Glad wrap, but it's for boxes. You know, the big, thick plastic that you wrap boxes in? He was wrapped to a pole with that, with looter stuck to him. So yeah, there is a lot of... looks like looting has begun, and there is some interesting ways that these civilians have been getting back at that. Not cellophane, no, not cling film, but what you use for genuinely wrapping boxes. I'm not talking about, like, kitchen grade shit, guys. I'm talking about, like, the stuff you use in a warehouse. That's what I'm talking about. But yeah, they've absolutely. Do you have a link for those tank commanders? You know, I'll try and get the tank commander stuff now, since we're nearly wrapping up and moving on. There is a few more things I want to touch on, but I'll quickly try and get the Russian-Ukrainian tank argument radio. Let me see if I can get that. No. No. Oh, goddamn, hang on. I'll ask my guys, hang on. There we go. I'll just ask my guys for it. They'll hopefully tag me by the end. Okay. We'll go through the rest of the steps of the information I have saved here, and then we'll move on to the misinformation. One thing I will mention is... Actually, no, that's under misinformation. That's fine. Okay. Stop there, good. Okay, done, good, okay, done. Alright. Aha! Latham has it. Here we go. Thank you very much, Latham. Let me just pull this one up. So, I believe I can show this because it's not actually, like, it's just some swearing. I don't think Russia's going to... I think YouTube's going to care, sorry. But additionally, it's Russian swearing, so they're even less likely to care. I will quickly play this for you. This is basically reported intercepted comms. I don't know if this picture is just here for generic reasons or if it's actually the picture. I think it's just generic reasons. But, you know, it's just to give a visual to the thing. But this is something that has continued to happen. That thread I posted earlier about the radio interception, this is a really common, repeated thing. The Russian radios are just you can just listen in on them, kind of thing. Anyway, here we go, listen to this.
Идет набор из танков в Бриту 842, курс 04, прием. 11, Болина 42, прием. Почему не едете, прием? Нахуй пошел, что тут непонятно. Ребята, не занимайте круговую оборону, лучше сдавайте сразу, вам всем пизда. Ебало, сука, у тебя, чтоб ты понял. Сейчас потихоньку джавелинами накроем вас, к ебаной матери. В жопу засунь, пидор ебаный. Это ты, пидор ебаный, ты на моей земле. Там, блядь, будешь, сука, и кормить червей. Гандон ты ебаный. Хлебало забей ты, ублюдок. Ты хуйло, блядь, брянское.
Slavic insults continue to beat the rest of the world. But that was recorded between two sides. And yes, Cornhole, that's exactly what we were talking about just now, was the unencrypted radios, broadcasting in the clear, broadcasting on, civilian radios, all sorts of shit. It is insane how poorly Russia's signals are being handled. Right. Let's move on to the other stuff. Okay, that's misinformation. That's foreign aid, so I want that. That's the Turkish Sea. Yep, that's misinformation. That is something I want to talk about. This was a captured major. The Russian 15 documents. That's a stolen tank. Okay. All right, so we're going to go through a few more things now. I'm just going to pull them up onto my screen. I'll just cover up the screen for a moment. And these will be the last things we're touching on before I move on to the misinformation part that I need to speak about there. So let me just pull these up. Okay. I'm not going to show one of these documents just because I'm not certain how much I should show of this. But essentially, one of these documents does show that in the south, reported in the Odessa region, there was a major captured by the Ukrainian forces. This includes, I'm looking at his military passport and his allowance for an AK-12 and 120 rounds of ammunition with 4 magazines. Right, these are all in his passport, basically. And it's called this guy. There's also footage of him claiming that he doesn't know. I don't know what was happening. I don't know why we're here. I don't know what's going on kind of situation as well, which does strengthen the fact that there are absolutely Russians using the I don't know problem, sort of claim to just lie or defend themselves, because there is. I wouldn't say there's no way a major doesn't know, but there is no way a major doesn't know at least what their plan is. At least like where that specific group is going. He's a battalion exo. Want to show it? I am a little half off on this. It's just genuinely because it just contains his personal information, just like straight up the guy. I mean, it's one of those moments. I'm kind of half torn on it. I consider showing it. I'm considering not showing it. It's hard to say. It's one of those things where I don't want to get in the hot shit for showing it when I shouldn't be showing it. Technically war crime? Half-half. There is some things where basically you are allowed to film POWs, but basically you're not allowed to humiliate or use them for propaganda, as far as I recall. That's the war crime of POWs. You're not allowed to basically use them like like dancing donkeys. Basically, that's the specific war crime people keep referring to. But it's not like you're not allowed to take any footage of POWs. But yeah, can you cover the name and picture? Well, I mean, kind of, but then you're just gonna see like a book. Like if I cover all of the words and the face, because it's a military passport, that's the entire picture. I don't know. Yeah, so I'm gonna be careful now. I'm not gonna show it. It is a thing there. If I was certain about this, if I was certain he was like a higher ranked guy, I was like, oh, this guy's absolutely like one of the brass, right, kind of situation. Yeah, I'm not. I don't think it's appropriate to show. It has been handed around the the OSN area though, because it is pretty much being passed around the internal Ukrainian messaging networks. Okay, next up, we're going to show these. Yes. Okay, this is a funny one first. To break away from the serious stuff for a moment. This is some Ukrainian civilians stealing a tank. This is something that continues to happen, is that Ukrainian civilians are just stealing vehicles. And there's also, in the rest of the video, he eats pizza on it as well. Yeah, that guy is having the time of his life. I just figured that's a really nice video to lift the levity for a moment, to just show you something really nice and amusing, and just have a moment of levity, because that's very funny. Yeah, they stole a fucking tank. Anyway, that's one's translated, so I really quite like it. Hey, thank you very much there to the person who translated it. Nice work. Upvote for you. And yes, indeed, the Ukrainian tax department essentially put out a statement saying that any captured Russian equipment you do not have to declare for tax. It is tax-free. Which, that is the funniest thing I've ever heard an accountant say in my life. Now moving back to serious things. So, Belarus is joining the war, or at least all signs show. There is no report of them. As far as I'm aware, there was one report from a border commander saying that they engaged Belarusian forces, but there's not been, confirmed. Oh, yep, they're definitely inside of Ukraine now. As far as I'm aware, if that has changed, I would love to know. But as far as I'm aware, there is no current Belarusian forces inside of Ukraine. Rather, they're preparing to go. But as they're preparing to go, there's already been 3 cases of rail sabotage inside of Belarus. So these are people inside of Belarus sabotaging the railways leading to Ukraine, which is, of course, one of the major ways you want to move, units and equipment. So it very much seems like not all of Belarus is behind this, and I assume it's going to be the same in Russia, though obviously I don't think anyone in Russia is going to be going quite as bold as sabotaging railroads. But yeah, I'll give you a link to read. It's you'll have to translate the article if you want to read it, but it is quite interesting to read about that. That's something that's the first thing I've heard about Belarus, not Belarusia. Sorry, I get them confused. My bad. Kherson is now officially under Russian control. Yes, it is. That was done earlier. My apologies. They are. This is the situation where we we're talking about. Oh my god, we were trying to talk about something happening between war between Russia and Belarus, and we were like, Belarus said to Russia that Russian, war, the Belarus war had been compromised by, and they had to let the Russians know, the Russian unit war inside of it, just the same fucking names. It's really confusing. But yeah, it is basically Belarus, but it's kind of like me whenever I say Czechoslovakia, because I keep forgetting that it's not World War II anymore. And it's now Czechia and Slovakia, so my bad on that. But yeah, hey, I'm not European. I thank God. Otherwise, I wouldn't live on this great island of mine full of snakes. But yes, Belarus seems to be opposing it right now. Secret documents. This is the thing we were talking about earlier. The war was to last 15 days. This is the one I was referring to. Now, let me just hide away the stream plan and all that. This is the document. There you go. So you can reference basically the dates. And basically what their plan was to do. Hoi4 does that? Yeah, well, look, I was poisoned for 2 years, all right? So these sort of so this sort of plan shows that their intention was it was a 15-day conflict at best, and they sort of were looking to get it over with faster than that, but it was 15 days for the whole thing. Do you mean the Czech Republic? No, it's now called Czechia, unless I have gotten it back again. Is it not called? I thought they officially changed their name to Czechia. I'm pretty certain at least. Anyway, but so these are the plans captured. This was a Russian Marine Battalion tactical group that was basically captured. This is what it was captured from, and these plans seem to show so a lot of the intelligence. This is really fascinating stuff to look at. Actually, I'm gonna post this in the chat if you guys want to have a read about this. But this one is quite a fascinating read. Now, the Battalion Tactical Group, just so you guys know what this is something you may not have heard. This is more of a military person thing that you may have heard, but a Battalion Tactical Group is essentially the groups that the Russians are fighting in. So Battalion Tactical Group is, it's basically made up of multiple different forces put together, kind of like... I think, what do the Americans call them? Combat teams? BCT in America, I think. Battalion combat team. Brigade combat team, that's what it is. It's a basic deployable unit of maneuver for Russia. So, no, not fire team. No. We're talking about big scale here. Brigade combat team. So it's a basic... movement unit, right? So it's you want to send out a force to go, capture a location or, do something. You don't generally want to spend, if it's, you're sending a force to go attack a thing, you don't want to send really much less than that. You're never going to send a platoon on its own. You're never going to send, Even just like I mean, companies maybe, but you're never really going to send a platoon just off on its own to do its own job. So yeah, there's different groups, and it pulls. It's got tanks, it's got infantry, sometimes artillery as well. That sort of thing. They put them together, and that makes the their support group. Yeah, 3 to 4 companies plus support dudes. That's the sort of thing. This is how Russia is fighting in Ukraine. This is the groups that they're using. There've been several analysts that did some really interesting discussions about it. Yeah, it's smaller division. It's not a division. Unless you're the VDV. Very good point. Yeah, this is how they've been fighting. The civil analysts made some very good points, which is that Russia is continually losing strength in their BCTs as they advance forwards, which is that so for every road junction they have to hold, they'll leave an element behind to hold the road junction, but also to direct Russians that come up to go, we went that way, follow that way. That's the way you got to go. Don't take the wrong turn kind of thing, right? So these battalion tactical groups, as they get towards the fight, by the time they reach there, they may have bled units along the way just holding the rear. It is Plans for War was approved January 18th, which, I mean, really, really puts a damper on the whole, like, oh, wow, we were never going to war kind of situation. Sorry, but back to the groups. So, a lot of overextension with these groups, a lot of outrunning of their supply lines, very little integral supplies or logistics, and that is something that some captured Russians have complained about. They basically said, like, the logistics that got in country with us are either destroyed or exhausted. And we're now, like, running out. We need to get more from out of country, get them into country if we want to keep fighting kind of situation. So, yeah, it's they're not actually leaving a rear guard. So they kind of are, but they're more securing road junctions. They're not actually securing territory. They're securing roads more than anything. Right. Anyway, let's move on there. I've left that in chat. I'll just post it again in case you want to read, because I do think this is a very fascinating read in regards to the how the Russians are sort of performing their war. And there are several analysts on Twitter look at there. And lastly, I just want to show this. This is something, I'm going to slowly scroll down this. I'm not going to read everything, but this is all of the foreign aid given to Ukraine during the Russo-Ukrainian war. It's obviously going to be updated as we go. It may not be, up to date, but Wikipedia article editors are insane when it comes to updating this sort of stuff. I'm going to hide my screen real quick. My camera real quick, and I'm just going to slow roll this. Let me just, here we go. See if you can notice your country here. I'm also going to take this moment to have a drink of water. Oh god, it is mobile, I'm sorry. Middle click? Oh yeah, good point, actually. I so rarely use that. Oh my god, it's hands-free! Thank you very much, Stephen. Thank you very much. Alright. Little bit of elevator music. I'd put it on if it didn't fuck with the middle mouse. I'm just having a drink and take a quick break. Give me a sec. Okay, we're down here. Sorry, I was away having a drink. Okay. All right. Provided by organizations. Very interesting. Interesting that the EU is providing... This is something I just genuinely didn't know. That, what's it called? That the EU individually provided weapons. I suppose that they're going to be... like, just paid for by the EU, and they pay someone else? I don't know. Oh, yeah, here's the link, in case anyone wants to read this. They pay someone else. I don't know. I'm genuinely unsure on how the EU is sourcing these weapons. In fact, what we're going to do real quick is we're going to go have a look at that reference. I want to see... Oh, hang on, is there... Here we go. I want to just have a read of the article. Foreign ministers agreed to sound... Oh, here you go. The aid will be financed by... Oh, so I'll show the screen real quick. The aid will be financed by EU's European Peace Facility and will see the bloc supply arms to a country at war for the first time in its history. Another 15 million will be provided for non-lethal purchases. So I suppose it's just actually weapons that the EU has? I'm genuinely... I don't know. If anyone has further information on this, I'd love to know.
It's no using EU funding. No, I know that like the funding comes from the EU. I'm wondering, where do the weapons come from? Who are they paying to sell them the weapons, kind of thing? Because the weapons have to come from somewhere, right? I'm genuinely unsure. Will this be available on your channel? Yeah, it's just so they're giving budget to Ukraine to purchase weapons. Is that what you're saying? I could see that being a possibility. But NASCAR team owner is donating 1 million rounds of ammo to the Ukrainian army. That's fucking funny. Stockpile from the EU army plan. Possible? I don't know. That is something I genuinely have to look into more. I don't know. They just... Is there... Oh, bro. Bro. let me just reload this real quick. I don't know. I'm not sure what actually gets their weapons. But right. That is that. And last one here. This is like the middle line between misinformation and like the switch over thing. So we'll put this back up here now. And just actual genuine news, because I have no idea what this one is. This is... So there have been multiple reports of a Russian ship burning off the coast of Odessa. Like, smoking off the coast of Odessa, I should say. Since then, there are more people who are looking into this. So here we go, like, look at this. This is the silhouette there that people are seeing. People are thinking that that's actually a Ukrainian Navy ship, because it's an old Matka class, which let me just reference real quick, because let me just check. Matka class. I don't believe... Are they still in operation by the, apparently, yeah, there is one boat in service with the Ukrainian Navy. The Priluki. So it may genuinely be a Ukrainian Navy ship still operational. And if that matches up with the report of the Russian ship smoking off Odessa, the Ukrainian Navy may not be defeated. Which is insane to me, it's absolutely insane if true. But again, that's one of those things where it is very hard to prove any of this yet. It is very difficult to say if there is actually... see, there you go. This is the picture of the ship burning. Well, smoking. If genuinely this boat from... Fucking what year was this boat from? This boat from 1977 managed to get a shot off on a Russian vessel. Big if true. Like, that is... Check the hull number. You can't... No one can see the hull number. Like, that's not actually the ship. That's just a picture of what the class looks like. This is the only picture thus far. So, holy shit. Yeah, they may... Just to be entirely clear, just to make it clear again, just because people may be confused, the bottom picture is an example reference of what the boat looks like to compare to the actual above image. The above image is the actual genuine image. So, it's in ship defensive of the coast. Yeah, I would certainly agree there, but I'm just... The fact that someone has actually gotten a picture of what appears to genuinely be a Ukrainian Navy vessel, I'm impressed. I didn't think they were sailing anymore. But anyway, we'll see. We'll see if they actually are. I'm really keen on finding out more information about that. I want to look in fucking... A heads up, brigade, combat team, battalion, tactical groups are different in size and function. Yeah, but it was the easiest comparison I could find that some people may have heard of. Like, it's kind of... It's a hard... I don't know. It's one of those military things that kind of is a step up from what most people know. Like, people know, like, a company and a brigade and shit, but less people know the tactical groups and the combat groups and those sort of things. Anyway, let's just close it out there. That was just something I was trying to find that could be as the best comparison. Because, again, a lot of people here are not, like, most of us, where we're, like, fucking 10 knees deep in, military lore and shit. So, anyway. Alright, that is the end of segment 3. I'm going to move on to correcting misinformation now. I'm also going to quickly refresh live map and have a look there. And we'll move on. Here we go. Okay. I just got to add a mod as well. 1 second. I'll also put the music back on as we move on. So this part, we're going to start correcting misinformation. We will dunk on a journalist, and we will, in general, try and correct some things that I've seen that are still being bandied around as false, or basically things that are still being passed around as, oh, this is real footage, and it just isn't. There we go, just adding another mod. There we go. Okay. All right. Let's set. There we go. All right. So, let's go through the misinformation first. So now rather. We're going to go through a few different things, and we'll go through them just in the order I've got here. And then after this, we'll go look at the number 5. Any armor footage this time? No, there was some in between, but no more armor footage after that. I've only seen one more. Yeah, once again, please don't send anything to my DMs. You won't have it looked at. DMs or Twitter, Discord, or DMs, sorry. Twitter DMs or Discord DMs will not be looked at. There is a channel in the Discord specifically for if you want a video to be looked at or a question to be answered. That's there. And that's what we'll go do as soon as I'm done with the misinformation section. Just give me a second. Nice. Okay. Easy. All right. First thing I want to talk about, this is something with very little proof. Actually, I'll talk about two things. It's not I can show the light map here. First of all, there was the claim that the VDV landed off the coast and drowned in the water or froze to death. And there was also a claim that Russian Marines mutinied and drove their ships back to Russia rather than landing at Odessa. Now, here's where we need to talk for a moment about Ukrainian propaganda. And we'll get to Snake Island as well. That's on my list. That's, in fact, next on my list. But here, what I'm trying to do, what I am trying my best to do, is basically get the truth. Because as Snake Island is about to show, as Snake Island is a perfect thing to show, lying and relying on lies is never going to be the correct way. And it's also the way that we end up with situations like this. Because at the end of the day, a lot of the Russian, the Russian army is so strong and unstoppable is propaganda. What we thought of the Russian army before this week was propaganda. What we thought of them, what we saw them as before we saw them in action was all just this fear of a Soviet juggernaut, obviously Soviet juggernaut back in the Soviet Union, resurrected in the Russian Federation as this Russian Federation juggernaut, but now it's modern and it's scary and they have all sorts of crazy new tanks and shit, and they're unstoppable. And then we see them in action, and they forget to bring logistics trucks. The VDV, who everyone on the internet used to thought was the toughest of the tough, the VDV, fucking that whole song, that song is being used to ridicule them now because of their repeated failures. It is propaganda, and you need to be careful of this, because what that propaganda led people into believing was genuine journalists, like military analysts, like all sorts of people were saying the moment Russia was invaded, people were going, well, it's done. Moment Ukraine was invaded, it was like, well, it was done. Yep, no point. There was a German minister who even was quoted saying, why would we help Ukraine? They're going to be gone in a few days, kind of thing. The belief that the enemy was stronger than they are led into a really dangerous situation where hell, some people have even suggested, this is one of those things where I'm not fully on board with, where if you've read anything about like the people reporting on Putin's inner circle, like one journalist claimed that Ukrainian intelligence knew that he, inside of his hideout in the Urals, he was yelling at his guys. I find it hard to know how Ukrainian intelligence would know what's happening in Putin's hideout. It's really, really difficult. But, some people have claimed that Russia themselves misbelieved how strong they were. Like, genuinely overestimated their own strength as well. It's... The truth is always preferable. There is no situation in which the truth is not preferable. Because when the lies get exposed, that little lie you were holding onto that you were using for your advantage becomes a weapon to be used against you. And that's exactly what Snake Island is going to be. We're going to talk about that in a moment. Don't you have floods to deal with? Nah, that's up north, dude. Don't worry, people know where I live now, so they know I'm not getting flooded. Anyway. So, the two things I want to talk about, the VDV and the mutiny. Those only references come from a Ukrainian media source with no actual evidence. Like, I've yet to see. If I would love to see it, again, it's as always, if you have hard evidence for a thing happening or not happening, hell, if it directly disagrees with me, I would love to see it. And that's something I'm going to talk about, something I got wrong in just a moment. Like, this sort of thing is really important to have fucking talked about and have revealed. Lie makes it halfway around the world before the truth has its chance to get the pants. Yeah. A lie makes it halfway around the world before the truth has a chance to get its pants on. Winston Churchill. Yes, indeed. It's a very good quote. But the problem is that lie's only lasted for a few days until it's become, you know, a weapon to be used against them by the fact it's been exposed by a lie. So, yeah, I don't believe that there was a mutiny. I don't believe, but it is a chance. It is possible. It's, you know, I just don't think so. I think that until we see actual hard evidence, either whether that's just like visual, whether that's radio, whether that's reports captured, whether that's from Russia admitting it, anything like that, trying to claim that the mutiny happened and they sailed home, I very much struggle to believe. I find that probably to be it's called a fabrication, propaganda. Now, Snake Island. Let me pull up this. Snake Island's defiant defenders are actually alive and well, says hang on, yeah, let me hide the screen real quick. Are actually alive and well, says Ukrainian's Navy. There we go. Ukraine's Navy, rather, not Ukrainian's Navy. So this was the one where they said, you know, Russian warship, go fuck yourself, and it was reported at the time that the, you know, contact from the island was lost. What the thing here is whether it was the Ukrainians using this as a propaganda chance to say, all right, guys, and this was just, you know, like, let's make a propaganda spiel out of this, versus it being no ad block. Honestly, ad block's kind of annoying on a lot of journalist sites because they'll throw up an extra thing if you have ad block on that like then blocks you further. I don't care. Anyway, versus them genuinely losing contact and assuming that they are KIA. I believe that they assumed they were KIA and did not attempt to use them as propaganda. I definitely believed that they were KIA. I mean, like, from the footage that everyone saw, sure as hell looked like they were KIA, and then they lost all contact with them. It definitely seemed that way. So, that, I personally believe that. I may be wrong, right? It may just be a little bit of both as well. It may be that they figured they were dead and they're like, yeah, let's do it. They were awarded medals posthumously. Will they take them back now? Maybe they'll still get them posthumously when they die, like, you know, in 80 years or so. Maybe they'll get them at their funeral. I don't know. Who knows? But either way, thank God they're alive. They're actually they're alive and well, according to the Navy. They repelled 2 attacks by Russian forces, but in the end were forced to surrender due to lack of ammunition, according to that. And now, I don't know. Let me just. So I'll pull up a picture of Snake Island real quick. Snake Island is genuinely a tiny island. Like, it is, like, here we go. This one, I don't know if I can show any of that crap, though, yeah. Do you have an idea? This is the island they were defending. It is not big. It is not a situation where they were going to, like, this is not an Okinawa. This is not a Gibraltar. They were not going to, like, hold out forever here. So, yeah. Is the VDV thing drowning proving false or true? It is most likely false. There has been no evidence for it thus far. The only evidence was just a report from a Ukrainian media. So, yeah, that is the island they were defending. So I fully believe that they were never going to hold it for long, and the fact that they ran out of ammunition first, I'd be impressed. If they did genuinely repel 2 attacks and run out of ammunition, that's the kind of the situation where you're like, you know, how... I don't know how much to trust. It is a very back and forth situation. However, the thing that we can say is that they are alive. The defenders lived, and they were captured by Russia. Okay. Right. So that is Snake Island. Okay, now the airsoft video. Now, this is one you may have seen. It's actually been passed around in even Ukrainian... Here we go. Let me just... That's frozen at the start. This has been passed around even in Ukrainian messaging groups, claiming it's a citizen throwing a Molotov in the back. Now I have to cut it off before the music hits, but watch this, okay? So this is a claim, BTR, and they're throwing in a Molotov. Now I'm gonna check. Yeah, right. Now, obviously I can't play that music or else YouTube's gonna bean this place, right? That is airsoft. That's just an airsoft video, guys. Several things. One, that's not a Molotov cocktail. That's just a smoking grenade. It's probably just a genuine smoke grenade, which airsoft players use quite often. That's also a Polish vehicle, not a Ukrainian nor Russian vehicle. So yeah, this is not. I'm amazed that even Ukrainians fell for this, but yeah, this is, as you can see, that's not a Molotov cocktail. That's just airsoft footage. That is. It is a Scott, as far as I'm aware. I don't know how to actually say that, but yeah, it's the SKOT, basically. So yeah, I know a person who's in that Vic. Holy shit, small world. But yeah, this is something that's being passed around as real footage. It is not. It is airsoft footage. And time to dunk on a journalist. So, let me scroll down there and find this one. Did you really direct that though? No, it's just a meme. That's why I cut it off, because the song is copyrighted, so I didn't want the stream to get, beaned because of a copyrighted song. Okay, where is it? Not this one. So I'm just trying to find it. Nope. And okay. You're posting a video? I mean, the VODs will stay up. They will function as my videos for this. Okay. Oh, come on. How much further I gotta go back for this? Here we go. Okay. So, I'm actually gonna have to go find this video for a moment. Here we go. I've got it. I'm not gonna show the full thing. But I will show you the specific part that everyone keeps posting. Okay? Because I believe I can get away with showing this part. Alright. So, this is footage I saw everywhere. And I mean everywhere. So many people posted it. The claim is, this is Kiev citizens defending the city of Kiev with Molotov cocktails, throwing them at a Russian armored vehicle. In this case, they're claiming it's a BTR, right? So, this guy, by the way, is a senior editor at Politico, and retweeted this. And stated this, even after we called him out on it. And it still hasn't deleted the tweet, hasn't fucking posted like, oh, whoops, got that wrong. How's that journalism degree treating you? Anyway, what this actually is of the 2014, what's it called? What's the word for it? Protests, 2014 Maidan, right? So, this is the 30 Molotov cocktail volley, which you probably have seen at some point. I'm just gonna, there we go. So it's this, where they just pelt the vehicle with Molotov cocktails, all right? If you see that footage, don't fall for it. It's not from Ukraine 2020. It is Euromaidan, yeah. Yeah, it's fucking 2014. It's not 2020, all right? 2022, sorry. Yeah, Ukrainians defending themselves from Ukrainian cops in 2014. Yeah, it is, it's, literally, yeah, it's on Netflix in the US. That's where loads of it is, loads of the footage is coming from. He tries to defend himself by, he'll keep it up as it still showcases Ukrainian bravery. Oh, Jesus. It's not that hard to admit you're wrong, which I'm about to do right now. So, I was wrong about one Twitter account. I'm gonna quickly pull up some information here. I still have no idea who this person is, but I'm fairly certain they're not the person I thought they were. So, this is Igor Girkin. This was the guy who was involved in, basically starting the whole, he was involved in Crimea, he was involved in the Donbass, he's an ex-GRU, ex-FSS agent, like he is a Russian Fed, essentially, who was involved in leading militants in those operations, right? Then came along an Igor Girkin tweeting about what's it called? Ukraine, and lots of tweets on it. Now, I originally figured, why the fuck does this guy have so many followers, no bio, and I don't know who it is, and I couldn't find who he is. Like, I couldn't, oh, I don't want to scroll down because it may show fucked up shit that this guy's done. This guy's an actual fucked up person, by the way, the actual Igor Girkin that I'm referring to. I do not believe they're the same person anymore. I did make that reference in the first live stream. I'd like to clear it up and say that I think I was completely wrong on that. This just seems to be another Igor. He seems to be posting a lot of very good footage from another Igor Gherkin, I should say. From, what's it called? From Ukraine, but I don't believe that he is a, I don't believe he's the Russian fucking nationalist. I know join 2014, I know, that's why I was like, join 2014, but, if you look here, I just want to state this. Yesterday in the sky over Babitsa, Kiev region, there was an air battle of 2 Russian helicopters and one of ours. The result is wonderful. 1 helicopter of the invaders lies between the roads, right? And this is all footage. He has some very good footage and pictures and such. He is clearly not a Russian nationalist, right? So that's my bad. That's entirely my bad. And very much my fault. And if it's a parody account, then I think that's fucking hilarious. But my bad that I fell for it. And I'm very much sorry to the person running the account for implying that you are, in fact, a Russian nationalist. I'm very much sorry about that. Okay. So, that is my bad there. That's something I've corrected just because I did say that in the first stream. And as I've said, if I fuck something up, I will try my absolute best to correct it. And more than that, in the first VOD, one of the comments in the first VOD, someone's like, "Oh, you know, Rimmy, I love you. You know, I love your coverage. You know, like you're the only one I can trust." And someone else replies with, you know, like, "Don't just trust Rimmy." And I absolutely agree with that person. You never just trust a single source. You should never trust a single source for anything. Like me included. I am not the fucking be-all and end-all. I am not the omniscient fucking knows everything absolute correct. You should always cross-reference. And that's what I'm trying to show people with these videos and these articles, that always trusting one source is inevitably going to get you burnt. Inevitably. You should always look into other sources and cross-reference and go, well, okay, yeah, like this newspaper said that, but it's the only newspaper reporting on this, and no one else has said what that newspaper said. And their source is an unidentified, you know, contact or whatever, unidentified source. And it's like, are we going to trust this, you know? But whereas if you have a fact stated by, say, like, you know, 10 different newspapers, you can more reasonably trust it. I've heard Hassan Piker say Russia was legitimate in intervening Crimea because Crimeans wanted to join Russia. We'll talk about that when we get to the talking part. I want to wrap up this stuff first real quick. Which is actually going to be real soon. Okay, so I think that's all there. That's done. Okay, cool. Let's pull that one open. That's not... Okay. Okay. Alright, I think that covers a lot there. Alright, I think I've covered all of my preset information that I wanted to go over. All of my, pretty much, like, notes and shit that I've got marked here. I'm now going to move over to doing the Discord stuff. As I said, if you sent in a Discord DM, I don't care. I'm not looking. If it's private and you want to, like, it's an actual thing that you need to talk to me about, then yes, send it. I'm not going to say don't ever DM me. Just if it's a specific stream question for the stream, you want to look at either the stream video or you want to look at the what do you call it? Oh my god, what's the word for it? You want to, like, have a question answered, then yeah, use that channel in the Discord. But you know, DMs is if it's a question for the stream, it's not going to get answered on the stream. Sorry, it's just not going to happen. Rimmy covered the Ghost of Kiev being a lie yet? Yes, I have. All right. There is one last thing I'm going to do. I'm going to set up this real quick. I'm going to close out the stream plan. I'm going to replace... not the DM reminder. The video's covered. Okay, so this will just basically be anything I cover. I'm going to make it nice and small. I may have to make it bigger as it goes on. But anything I cover, I'm going to mark here, just so we hopefully don't get a repeat if you guys are asking further questions. I think that is the lot. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so I'm going to go just top down and just work my way through them. Okay. All right, I have to be quite careful with this. Will this stay up as a VOD? Yes. Actually, as I go through as well, I'm going to delete anything I've already answered and basically, like, work through it. So will it stay up as a VOD? Yes, it is going to stay up as a VOD. Let me actually just... can I pull this? Yeah, I'll pull this into the center screen. I'm not going to be showing my screen for most of this just because I may accidentally, you know, someone may have posted a video with bodies and shit, and we'll carry on there. Also, at the end, I will just I'll scan through the super chats and see any questions there, but you don't have to donate or anything like that. I highly prefer you give to Ukraine. There is the charity link in the, I think it's there, in the pinned comment. And you don't have to give money for me to read your question either. If it's in here, I'm going to do my best to read it. I am only going to go for another hour, and then I'm ending the stream. That's my hard limit, because otherwise I will literally go all night. As I stated earlier, have a read of the twit longer. Have a read of, it's actually, I think it's in the description right here. There you go. So that is something worth reading. Is the video of the guy stealing a tractor real? Yes. Well, he's not stealing a tractor. Well, hang on. If you mean the video of a tractor stealing a Russian armored vehicle, then yes, that is an actual, video in which they tied a vehicle to a tractor and they dragged it away. Whether it's stealing or not is harder to say, because it may have just been abandoned. I mean, technically that is stealing, but don't get the idea that they just went up to the Russians, hooked on the tractor, and then drove away, kind of thing. Okay. Let me just mark down. Ukrainian Special Forces said they won't be taking prisoners anymore. I've seen that. That is only one group that said it, and they said it to the artillerymen, and it is not an official order or an actual statement, and I really hope they go back on it, because that's not something you want to say. It's just not something you want to say. Think about it. If I'm a Russian guy trying to surrender, do I want to go and surrender the guys who have said they're going to shoot me if I surrender to them, or am I going to keep fighting? Don't. It's people think it's a tough thing to say. It's a really bad idea to say. I can get why they say it. I absolutely understand why. I'm not going to be like, how dare they? Because, their city is being bombed and civilians are dying right now. It's not good, but it's still not a good thing to announce, They're not going to be taking prisoners, but they're going to kill surrounding troops. The statement was not great. It was saying, they were stating that to the artillerymen targeting, targeting the city. All right, let's what's up? $1 million bounty on Putin offered by Russian businessmen. It was offered by entrepreneur Alex. Oh my god, I'm gonna screw this name up. Konanikin, which is he left Russia in 1992 and was given political asylum in 7 years later in the US. I just want to see. I'll see if I can find the source on that. But I mean, definitely seems like the sort of thing that one of these guys is going to do. This article doesn't contain a source. Let me do a quick search for a source. I'm just going to pull these over to here. Okay, he said in a Facebook page. Let's see. Can I actually... Sorry, I'm trying to go... Wait, it was posted on LinkedIn? He posted this on LinkedIn. No fucking way. Okay, no. It's not in a hunt. Okay. The specific translation here is, I promise to pay $1 million to the officers, it's a little code, it's called brackets, who, complying with their constitutional duty, arrests Putin as a war criminal under Russian and international laws. Putin is not the Russian president, as he came to power as a result of a special operation of blowing up apartment buildings in Russia, then violated the constitution by eliminating free elections and murdering his opponents. As an ethnic Russian and a Russian citizen, I see it as my moral duty to facilitate the denazification of Russia. I will continue my assistance in Ukraine in its heroic efforts to withstand the onslaught of Putin's order. Order is a word meaning horde, by the way. So first of all, that's not a request to kill him. That's a request to arrest him. Whether it's going to work or not, I don't know. But it does seem like he did genuinely post it. Like, it's... I mean, like... it's whether or not it's true or not is more of a question of, like, whether or not he'll actually pay, whether or not it'll actually happen, whether or not anyone's actually going to do something about it kind of situation. But let me mark up there. Putin bounty. There we go. Okay, next up on the list. Yes, I have seen these. This is a video showing, I'll pull this one up. This is some footage that one of my contacts actually shown me. There we go. I can try. Here you go. So there is, this is reports I've seen around from multiple cities. I'm just going to show this here. Reports from multiple cities of like flashing lights at night, of lasers, etc. This sort of stuff. Here you go. And with the claim that they're being used to mark for airstrikes, right? This sort of stuff I've seen put around. It's hard to judge exactly what is and isn't, but there is definitely a fear of saboteurs at the moment, which may unfortunately lead to some bad situations where, you know, you may see Ukrainians suspecting each other as saboteurs when they just, you know, Ukrainians kind of situation. But there is no doubt that what's it called? That Russia is using saboteurs, is using people in Ukrainian uniforms, is using people in civilian clothes. But yes, that is one of those sort of situations where it's happening. To what extent, like, what is actually this is an actual marking for a thing, and this is just a light that someone mistook for a marker. It's hard to say, and overall, I hope that no one is hurt in the actual, in the search for saboteurs, which is unfortunately quite common ways that civilians are killed in these situations. Okay, next up. Okay, let's do the next one. Russian losses. So I've seen a lot of these. Let's just see. Nothing actually exposing here. No. You know what? Actually, I'm going to pull that away, actually, just make sure. So I've seen a lot of these. These are all unverifiable. All right. If someone gives me a troop number count that goes beyond, like, even the 1,000, you know, if they're in, like, the 100 digits, if they're in the 1,000 digits, I'm like, okay, I can believe that. If someone gives me a troop number casualty count that goes down to a 10... No. The source is the Defense Ministry. We all know that in war, things are overreported. You know, every army in World War II reported killing like 3 times the number of tanks the enemies actually had. You know, 29 helicopters, 29 planes, 200 tanks, 77 artillery, like... The Russians aren't doing good, but they're not doing this bad, and trying to verify these things is not great. Which is why I'd like to talk about, real quick, a group. I'm going to just go quickly pull them up. There is a website, essentially, actually genuinely monitoring the confirmed losses, right? Let me go find them real quick. Yes, here we go. Oryx. So this guy's one of them. So this guy, I'm going to post it in chat right now, and I'll show the tweet as well. This guy has a list, and it's essentially, it is confirmed video or visual evidence. Absolutely, we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that these things have been destroyed or captured, etc. So, yeah, have a look at that. There's a full list as well to have a look at. But here you go, you can see, you know, basically Russia 504, of which 204 destroyed, yada yada yada, like all that stuff, and they go through like the specific stuff, right? The losses are significant. I'm just gonna hide this real quick. The losses are the losses are incredible. 500 basically vehicles that they've lost. That's not 500 tanks, mind you. That's 500 vehicles. But yeah, it is sort of one of those things where I believe I believe this one has pictures of like the tanks in the water as one of it. Oryx has given up on staying up to date because it's piling up so much. Yeah, I have seen that message as well. Still, it's a good thing to look at to get an actual idea of losses as opposed to just documents. Not hidden. I know. I was showing this. What? So, yeah. That's just something that to sort of think about there. Right. Oh yeah, and by the way, here's that whole the tractor stealing the armored vehicle thing. Funniest thing, it's not the only video of that happening. Isn't that from 3-4 days ago? I believe that post is, but it links to a full list, which is why I showed that one. That post is actually from today. Never mind. That post is from today, and it links to a full list. Remember that he is not going to fucking post just like, oh, we killed 10 tanks today. It needs like confirmation kind of thing. All right, moving on. Right. Are the soldiers on Snake Island still alive? Yes, they are still alive. Do you have any resources to help civilians learn not how to instantly die fighting tanks? Actually, I don't keep those on hand, no. There are... I know the Ukrainian, like, Department of Defense has been posting images on, like, how to attack tanks with Molotov cocktails and such. But overall, I would hate to give armchair advice on how to fight a tank. And then get someone killed because they believed me. That is not a good idea. To start with, you probably shouldn't... The biggest thing I can say is you probably shouldn't be fighting tanks with your Molotov cocktails to start with. Most modern tanks are not that vulnerable to Molotov cocktails. They can still be... It's not like they're fucking immune to it, but don't. There is a good tanker post on Reddit. That's probably the best one. I wonder if I can find that real quick. If someone can send that in this thread, that would be appreciated. When we get to the bottom, I'll have a quick look. But don't fight a tank. A lot of tanks these days are significantly... what's called resistant to Molotovs after it was revealed that, holy shit, Molotovs are a really easy way to destroy a tank, and we should probably make some defenses against them. Okay. With Belarus now changing its nuclear status and Putin reminding everyone he has nukes, with the peace being on the Belarusian border, could we be looking at a trap, or is Putin using the nukes as a leverage? I think those two things are entirely unrelated. I don't think... having the peace treaty on the border and Belarus getting nukes is, at all related. It is more of a situation where Belarus rather is doing everything it can to assist Russia, and the peace talks are the most neutral ground they can find. I'm glad they started to go to Poland instead, but obviously Russia, you'd see, wouldn't want to go to Poland because that's the Ukraine-Poland border, and the Polish border is NATO, so yeah, I don't know. I feel like those are unrelated. What are your predictions on the outcome of this conflict now it's entering a more protracted stage, and we're beginning to get a much more well-rounded indication of both sides' capabilities? I think if Russia keeps up what they're doing, and the sense of, like, they keep their military capabilities, I think eventually Ukraine may see a loss. I don't believe that, though. And the main reason I don't believe that's going to happen is that right now, Russia is hemorrhaging money, it's called fucking... maintenance, we're talking about like aircraft. Like, let's imagine just for a moment. Let's say Russia wants to get its soldiers from Siberia to Moscow, right? Well, you'd fly them, right? Or, you'd give them a train if you wanted to fucking take a while. But let's say you quickly get an important battalion across. You'd send them in a plane. Well, what happens when your planes aren't being maintained? Because the civilian air force is actually heavily used in wartime. I'm not sure if you guys know this, but during the Cold War, the intention for the British Army, when the Russians swept across West Germany, they were going to rush to the Rhine using civilian aircraft. They were going to... there was going to be military aircraft as well, obviously, but... they were going to charter British aircraft to deliver troops in country to the equipment that was already waiting for them. So yeah, I think that the Russian capabilities, we're going to see them degrade and degrade and degrade. I think we probably are going to see a renewed Russian assault sometime soon, once they, I imagine, once they get their logistics together. I imagine we're probably going to see one of those, because they've realized, oh, we fucked up, and they're probably going to try and get together, logistics and try an all-out assault or something along the lines of that. If not, just bombard the cities into dust. But I don't think we're going to see... Personally, I don't see a Russian victory. I maybe not a Ukrainian victory where, like, they push them out of the country. I doubt that will happen. But I see more of a Russian collapse than a Ukrainian victory being likely. And every day this goes on, more weapons are flooding into Ukraine from the West. More equipment, more armaments. Ukraine has its fucking pick of anti-tank weapons right now. So yeah. Let's move on. What is true about the Ghost of Kiev? What is fake? He is just made up. It was just a name made up by a guy on the internet, and it got picked up by everyone passed around. It's just a fake thing. It was, and the biggest way you can tell the Ghost of Kiev was fake was when he first came out, he had 4 kills, or 5 kills, or whatever. I think it was 4 kills start. And then it was like, he had 5 kills. And then like the next post, he had 6 kills. But the next post, it wasn't just he had 6 kills. He had 6 kills with specifically named aircraft that he had downed. There's also like 4 different people who have claimed to be the Ghost of Kiev. Or not claimed, but people have claimed they are the Ghost of Kiev. And so on and so forth. He's not real. I'm sorry to say. And yeah, it's not. Yeah, I mean, look, I'd love to believe too, but yeah, he's just not. It's now 7 kills, is it? It's now 7 kills. You see what I mean? And you know, it's going to be more and more specific. They'll give like the exact loadout, and before you know it, they'll be giving blow for blow. That's the thing. When you see someone suddenly adding details with no source at all referenced, and saying like, oh yeah, well, it wasn't just 10 tanks this guy killed. He killed 2 T-72s, 3 BTRs, 1 T-14, and like, as soon as they start doing that, you're lying. You're just making shit up. It is like real militaries have trouble figuring out what they destroyed sometimes. Like, did we actually kill that thing? I don't know. We shot an anti-tank missile at it and it fucked off. Is it dead? I mean, I guess. Yeah, I'd mark it down as a kill. And then like at the end, they're like, I think we killed 3 tanks of a type that we saw from like far away. You know, no one shows up and like, hello, Commander. I've killed 3 T-14s and 2 B-80s, BTR-80s rather. No one does that. It's just, as soon as that shit starts happening, you know it's just people making that shit up. All right. How can this end for Putin? What options does he have out of this situation? Entirely of his own making, in my opinion. Still the leader for Russia. If there are none, then what? That is perhaps one of the most dangerous things right now. I don't think there is a way out for Putin that isn't him being deposed. At best, the best way out I see for Putin is him taking a graceful step back and retiring from public life kind of thing. That is the best outcome I see for Putin. I don't think that he... No, the horse. I'm not talking about the Sam Hyde one. I'm talking about like the actual, like people claimed he was an actual fighter pilot. That was like a genuine actual fighter pilot. Anyway, I don't think there is any situation. He's basically put himself into a situation where there is practically no victory. Even if he wins in Ukraine, the world's not just going to suddenly lift the sanctions. Ukrainians aren't going to suddenly stop resisting. Like, even if in like 2 months he's conquered all of Ukraine's major cities, there's still going to be resistance. There's still going to be constant fighting. This will be a horrific war, assuming he took it over. And then you have to wonder, what about the Russian citizens? Are they going to be fine all going into poverty just because he wanted to take over Ukraine? Probably not. And then you got to think about the oligarchs and the businessmen, the people with like genuine power in the country going, wow, I can't do any business anymore because of this Putin fucker. You know, let's start, you know, putting together a little overthrow. You know, I don't see any way in which Putin stays in power. Yeah, that's the dangerous part, because watching some of the footage of him, everyone really very much believes he is like a cold and cool and collected mastermind. But watching some of the footage, it is painful how just fucking sane he acts. Subs and Soda asked these questions in the Discord, dude. And I do agree it's a shit take, but that's about it. It's also about the fucking thing that happened many years ago. We're talking about this current thing. So yeah, I don't believe that he has a way to stick around. How many people like Putin? I mean, no doubt people like Putin, yeah. But, like, I mean, you can only like someone so much. When someone is starving to death, and there's no food in the fucking supermarkets, and you have no money with which to buy the food with anyway, and you're sat there, starving to death in your kitchen, and you're going, well, hang on, how did we get here? It's going to be really difficult for people to sort of sit in that situation. And there are some who would still go, glory to Putin, and then die, right? There's still some people that do that. There's always going to be crazies. But at a certain point, what's the quote? Every civilized society is just three full meals away from anarchy. 3 hot meals away from anarchy, I believe, is the answer. So yeah, but we'll move on there. What is your take on the seeming absence of attacks on this big fucking convoy crawling its way to Kiev? I think the convoy is another situation of one-upmanship by reporting. Every time I've seen the convoy get reported, it gets bigger. Like, originally I heard it as like, you know, it was like a 20-mile convoy, and there was like 52, and now it's like 64. I'm starting to believe that it may, not that it doesn't exist, like there's genuinely going to be Russians there, but like, I don't think it's what people are chalking it up to be. It's one of those things that's continually fucking extended. As for why no attacks, if it is a genuine well, actually, like, Ukrainians are attacking convoys. That's something that you gotta be aware. And convoys don't exactly come in one straight line, right? Like, convoys don't do that. You're never gonna send a full fucking, like, 800 vehicles in one convoy. Do you know how long it would take if the driver at the front had to tell everyone at the back to turn around? Because they're like, oh shit, Ukrainians ahead. Fucking, do you know how long it would take for a message to get to the back? Like, that shit would be insane. So, you know, what it is likely is different convoys extending out over that stretch of area. And Ukrainians are hitting those convoys. If they're not hitting them, most likely answer is that it's just because the Russians are actually defending them now, or air defense is defending them, or that they're busy with the attacks up front. More likely than anything, I just struggle to believe that it's actually like a genuine, full-blown 72-mile long convoy kind of shit. Oh, fuck off bots. No, there we go. Okay. What would be the significance of Ukraine, Georgia joining the EU? The Georgia, I honestly can't speak to, other than it's a move towards both of them are a move towards pro-EU, you know, unity, membership, moving away from Russia, basically, which is a good thing. For Ukraine, there's several things. The problem is, though, I don't know if Ukraine will, like, even if they fast track it, I don't think Ukraine would get into the EU by the end of this war. But there are some things, now, I'm going to say something that I haven't actually got a source on right now, but I have heard that there is a clause in the EU that in the event of one of the EU members being attacked, that is a requirement that other members of the EU provide aid to them. Not, like, go to war, but aid, which can be medical supplies, can be food, can be actual weapons. So that is sort of the idea behind that. But also, the main reason behind it is they want to be in with the EU. Another big thing that may seriously help, and this is something that I haven't seen bandied around, is freedom of movement, which is massive for refugees. If you don't know, freedom of movement in the EU basically means that it's super easy for an EU citizen to travel around the EU, right? You don't have to get, like, visas and shit. You know, like, when I went to China, for instance, I had to get a visa. I had to go to a fucking, I think it wasn't an embassy, but it was like an office. I had to go to the office, I had to give them more information, I had to wait, I had to get approved for the visa, and then I could go to China. Freedom of movement, you don't have to do that. So that would be a massive advantage for refugees, but that's something I don't see mentioned as often. Did the Russians use the T-14 Armata? Now, I don't think so. I have seen a picture of what was claimed to be a T-90. Off the top of my head, I can't recall if anyone has seen a T-14 in action yet. I don't believe so. But the main reason why you're probably not seeing them in action is because they don't have enough of them to start with. A paper tiger. All right, moving on. Okay, next one. Snake Island border guards are alive. Yes, actually, I'll put that up there as well. Yeah, few T-90s, but no T-14s. Yeah, okay, that matches what I've said. I off the top of my head, I do not think I've seen any T-14s, but I have seen T-90s. But yeah, it's not. There you go. There are only 20 T-14s in existence. That's actually less than I thought. I thought there was about 100. That's much less than I thought. Okay, fuck, we're gonna put Snake Island survivors. There we go. Actually, I'll just put that over here, just as we go. You're really good with maps. Would you either draw out an accurate invasion map or link one you think is accurate? Live map is not the most accurate. I will see if I can find... There was one that was a bit more accurate. I'd have to get a friend to send it to me. I'll actually ask real quick. I'll get that one real quick. But no, this, what's it called? Live map is not the most accurate. The biggest problem with maps right now is the fronts in this war are not solid. They are not solid defended fronts all along the way. There are so many times where Ukrainian forces have gone like past the Russians and then attacked them from behind, or Russian forces have just driven past a village and then surrounded a settlement, and then, you know, Ukrainian forces have gotten out of the settlement and gone and attacked logistics. It's to say front lines is really difficult for this war. It is Wikipedia. That one is unvetted as well. It does have one. It does have one. If you just want like a general idea, but it's not trustworthy. It doesn't show its sources is the main thing. Is this the one? Okay, this one. All right, someone's sent me this. Again, take this. This is the biggest thing I'm going to say. Every single map you see, take with a massive grain of salt. One of the Ukrainian attacks I covered that I thought was really important, the one, the road junction, actually came from what was Russian territory. It came from the northwest, behind the Russians. And I was like, how the fuck did they get there? It's because the fronts aren't solid. But this is, I'm going to real quick show this. Again, take everything with a grain of salt. But there you go. This one, the reason why I trust this map a lot more is because it marks the roads the Russians are securing rather than just mass territory that they're securing. Yeah, frontline maps are not very useful right now. It is as sad as the Hoi 4 players might be. Frontlines are significantly less secure than you know these games would have you believe. They are like the frontlines are basically just colanders, and units are going both ways at all times. Okay, so let's pull up the next one. What front is Russia making the most progress on? And does it look like Ukraine can hold? The front that Russia is making the most progress on is absolutely the southern front. It is the only place that Russia has secured a major city, that being the city of Kherson. Why do I say that like I'm French? Kherson. Anyway, over here, of Kherson. Which is basically, there is a reported Ukrainian counterattack here. It went Russian control, Ukrainian control, back under Russian control. So, yeah. It is currently the only major city that they have actually seized. They were, however, prior to seizing it, so before they actually seized it, they crossed over at Antonovka, which is one of my contacts confirmed that, and passed through the town of Molo Dizne. Sorry, I don't know. It's Dizhene. Sorry if I mispronounced that. And are currently moving onto Mykolaiv, which is currently where they're moving. That is the biggest danger zone for Ukraine right now, as in that's just the place where they have the least defenses, and they've got, you know, the Russians have the most freedom of movement. In the north, the Russians have incredibly limited freedom of movement. In the east, limited but not, you know, incredibly free. And there's a lot of strongholds like Sumy and Kharkiv where the Ukrainians are holding. So yeah. One brother fought in Syria, another is now in Ukraine. Any more wars going on? Jesus Christ, Joshua. I hope your brothers are okay. I hope they made it out of the Syrian war, and I hope they make it out of the Ukrainian war. But goddamn, dude. Yeah, it's absolutely the southern front is their biggest risk right now. All right, back to hiding the screen. I may run off in just a moment and have a bathroom break, but I'll get it once I get through a few more messages. I remember we are finishing this in half an hour, as I have a solid lock, a time lock on this stream. Do you believe Russia will deploy more soldiers to Ukraine for a second wave? Okay, I do believe they will, but the real risk that the Russian forces basically face by throwing even more troops in is increasingly worse logistical situation. So the Russians, it seems from a lot of reports, were actually having logistic issues before the offensive started. Like just feeding and housing and fueling all of their guys whilst they sat there waiting on the border. I believe one of the analysts said that the 7 days that the US intelligence releasing about their plans delayed the invasion caused a massive eating of their logistical supplies. So yes, while I believe they're bringing in more troops, I don't believe they're going to bring in just like ridiculous numbers of troops. Because yeah, you can do that. You can send, you know, 1 million troops to the border. How are you going to feed them? How are you going to clothe them? How are you going to arm them? Where is your fuel? You know, I don't think they're going to manage that. What happened with the Odessa landings? They were fake. The Odessa landings were just a fucking scare, and they never happened. There have been actual landings though now, but they were more in the east and southeast rather. What do you think is Russia's goal? I believe complete control of Ukraine, whether that's, you know, annexation directly into Russia, or it's, you know, making them into one of the Donbass, you know, or, you know, making them one of the making them like Belarus, whether it's making them a puppet state or directly including them, it's regime change. They want their guys in power. They want, Ukraine to no longer have a military that can oppose them, and then they want the territory. Like that sort of shit. That's what I believe, at least. I don't think they're just gonna release the Western province. So just to give an idea, a lot of people are claiming that they just want the Donbass area. So they just want Luhansk and Donetsk, which are the two republics that they recognized, right? No. If you're literally falling for Russian propaganda if you believe that they are just wanting that area. And if they're just wanting that area, why are they invading and bombing the rest of the country? Kind of situation. It's ridiculous. It is not what they stated. It's not even what they said. They said specifically they want to demilitarize and denazify Ukraine, which is regime change. You think some, I guess, would be to simply carve up Ukraine? Okay, here's the difference, though. The difference between a Russian state and somewhere like Belarus is the name, and that's about it, right? Like, if they actually regime changed in Ukraine, they're not just going to go like, well, regime has changed, goodbye, and then leave and never involve themselves in Ukrainian politics again. They're not just gonna leave and be like, all right, we did our job, goodbye. Yeah, hate to break it, yeah, not doing that. Is there any information on the activity of Azov? So I heard they were destroyed in the first moments, but I feel like that seems to just be a fake rumor. Apparently the Azov battalion are at, are at Mariupol. Ukrainian Reaper, is he real? You've just linked the sun, so the answer should be no, because the sun is ridiculously untrustworthy. And no. The Ukrainian Reaper is another ghost of Kiev. It's just someone they're like, we heard there's a guy who killed 20 Russians. Is there any evidence? No. That's about it. It was a weird second Ghost of Kiev attempt. Okay. If you think that Russia keeps going and we're fucking up, could we see a deposition, deposition, I believe? Yeah, let's say, of Putin? I personally believe so, yes. I believe that the most likely thing, I don't believe the full collapse of Russia is 100% gonna happen. I think the most likely outcome is that he is deposed by someone in the country. Whether that's someone else who wants to seize power, or whether that's a genuine uprising that deposes him, I do believe, regardless, that he isn't going to be in control of Russia, like, years down the line. I think this is the bad times for him, and I don't see a way that he recovers from this. Right. Is it true that Ukrainian SOF will no longer take Russian artillery as POWs? We've talked about this. It was just a statement made by them. It's not an order. It's not a thing, and I really hope that the Ukrainian military take it back, basically, that this statement made by them to the artillerymen. Because no matter what you say, unfortunately, yes. If the artillerymen surrendered, shooting them then is still a war crime. There is something in the Geneva Convention, as far as Coulson was discussing earlier today, about the policy of limited reprisal, but that's a very, very fucking limited thing to talk about. Here we go. And here we go. All right, so here's two things real quick. I've just got my guys to send me the stuff. Real quick, this is the map that I may recommend. This is people are asking about a map to sort of study the front lines. This is decently up to date. So if you want to have a look at that, it's a pretty up to date map. Not bad there. The other one, someone's asking about how to fight tanks. Here is a thread reader. This one is from an American tanker about fighting tanks, basically, about how to oppose tanks. Here we go. Okay. Back on. How do you see worsening snow and weather conditions affecting Russian forces, given they should be trained and equipped for these conditions, but also should not be using public radio communication frequencies? Okay. I don't believe... Okay, so there's one downside to winter is you have to burn fuel to stay warm in winter, or power. You have to use something to stay warm, right? Like, yeah, they can genuinely camp out in the snow with nothing, but it's more likely not the troops are going to turn on their vehicles and warm themselves up with it. And this is actually a thing, if you've read, I've read a lot of German manuals, basically, from World War II. Like, I think I've got one. I think I've actually got one over there, which talks about a Panzer Grenadier company on the move and all that sort of such. And some of the orders they have, for instance, are you know, before you move, you have to have a setup time to warm up the vehicle and basically like unfreeze it. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And you know, like there's stuff like that where you have serious, you know, cold and like winter situations you have to deal with and burn through supplies. But the upside of winter is that you have a lot less mud to deal with. Frozen, like frozen solid, what's called land is easier to traverse over than thick slushy mud. Rasputista, I believe, is the. Let me. Rasputista, is that how you say it? Yes. If you guys have an interest of that, it is a Russian term for 2 seasons of the year, spring and autumn, when travel on unpaved roads or across country become incredibly difficult owing to muddy conditions from rain or melting snow. So, yeah, you don't want to be engaging in a military conflict in that. Unfortunately, they seem to be engaging in a military conflict in that. It's not great. Okay. So let's keep moving on. Let me just move on. Okay. I'm gonna show this, but I will give the quick heads up warning that this is not a confirmed thing, and this is just what someone put in my Discord, okay? This is just a message put in my Discord. It was, I've got an email from my work that LuxMed Group here in Poland launched free medical care for the citizens of Ukraine and for the people that declared they came from the area of Ukraine. You can call under this number and make an appointment under this helpline. Patients may submit requests for medical assistance to this email address. I hope this helps someone stay safe. So, I can't really say on that or not, but if you have a Ukrainian friend, pass along to them if they're pulled out, you know, if they're in Poland and trying to basically get refugee status and medical aid assistance as they're out, that sort of thing. One of those situations where, I mean, that's just a thing someone's posted. Call the number. I'm not going to call the number of a refugee medical service. Are you fucking insane? Have some goddamn respect for their time. They're assuming it's true, right? Assuming it's a lie. I don't know, it's a prank number. Assuming it's true, they're actively attempting to help refugees. And you think I'm gonna waste their fucking time calling them and being like, hey, tell me if you're helping refugees or not. No. Don't fucking call them unless you're a refugee. It's simple as that. Anyway. Right. Let me just go back to the... How does Ukraine receive the NATO weapons? Because Russia couldn't shoot down the planes or something? One, Russia, no, is having a terrible time of shooting down the planes, but allow me to demonstrate real quick. The borders. Let me just show here. Okay. Poland in NATO. Slovakia is, I believe is in NATO. Let me just make sure. I know Czechia is, but let me just make sure. Members. Here we go. I do believe Slovakia is, yeah, Slovakia is also in NATO. Good, correct. So Slovakia, NATO. Poland, NATO. Romania, NATO. That is how the goods are getting in. There was a massive shipment wave sent over the border of Poland into Ukraine. So, but even in saying that, there are still Ukrainian flights flying. There's, I believe we saw some that flew to Poland a little while back, and then they either what we theorized is they were refugees out. Supplies in sort of situation. Is Hungary also in NATO? I believe that. Yes, they are. Hungary's also in NATO. There you go. So yeah, basically every single state except for Belarus and Moldova that is bordering Ukraine is a NATO state. So they do not hurt for like routes to get things into Ukraine. Yeah, and also, yeah, Russia doesn't want to shoot down an international plane over Ukraine. That is not a thing you want to do as well. Right, let's... I'm going to quickly run to the loo real quick. I will leave you guys for a quick toilet break. I'm just going to... You know, fuck it. It won't be too long, so I won't just put up a message. But yeah, there we go. All right, I'll be back in a moment, guys.
All right. Everyone's just singing Bayraktar. All right. Okay. How long will Ukraine hold for? How long will Russia last on the offensive? Honestly, Ukraine's lasted for longer than I expected that they would. And as for how long Russia can last on the offensive, I don't see... Personally, this is just from what we've been seeing, I don't see Russia holding out for like 2 more weeks. Not like the country as a whole, but like as a functional, well-operating military as well as they currently are, as their military is currently operating. I'm struggling to see after 2 weeks how much, like, how they're going to keep their sort of their army together kind of situation, because they're you know, their supplies are being destroyed. Remember that it's not just a case of like, you know, almost no country in this planet is what do you call it, is truly self-sufficient. So you got to think when it comes to food, because some of the Russians, there was some footage of Russian rations that were being given to the POWs, and they're like, I think it was like 4 years out of date. Like, you've got, you know, food you need to get from somewhere, you need to get you know, fuel from places, and fuel, once you cut off from the world, is a problem as well. You need to somehow make money to pay your soldiers, you know, like all this sort of situation. Like, there's lots of compounding factors that that I don't think 7 years. Was it 7 years? Jesus Christ. Is 4 years out of date too long? We'll put it this way: it's an MRE, so probably no. But the point is that you shouldn't be sending your, you know, vaulted assault troops in with MREs that expired in 2015 rather. It's probably still edible, but it's not a good sign, is the thing. Okay, so yeah, no, I think I reckon it'll be about 2 weeks before we see a change in Russian tactics. Just because they have genuinely been bleeding so many vehicles, so much supplies per day. And unlike the rest of the world, who is just throwing shit at Ukraine to use, Russia is not like... What do you call it? Russia just doesn't have like an infinite supply of vehicles and tanks and weapons and such, right? For instance, the TOSs, right? The heavy flamethrowers, which, if you're not aware, a TOS is actually a thermobaric MLRS. It is a very heavy, very scary weapon that basically fires a thermobaric rocket, which sucks all the air out of the area around you, you know, makes a massive explosion, big fire that. Those things, I believe there's only 30 in the world? I'm trying to see. Yeah, there's not many of them. Production, I'm trying to see, is there like a... I'm trying to see how many there are. I think I've heard a reference that there was only about 30 of them. Like, that sort of situation. So, when you start losing tanks, just on end over end, let's just go Russian, how many T-72s they have? Let's just look at like the basic T-72 tank. How many? How many do they have? How many of the T-72 do they have? That's about, goddamn. Wait, that's just built. No, hang on. How do they operate? Is there an actual list of how many they operate across the entire country? Oh, I can't seem to find one. Well, I'll have to look at that later. But the point is, at a certain point, they're going to start running out of certain things. You're not going to... Unlikely they're going to run out of T-72s first, of course. But I believe it's far more likely they'll run out of things that are important to them. Things like anti-aircraft, things like electronic warfare equipment. 45 TOS-1s. There you go, thank you. Have the TOS-1s been deployed? They have. It is hard to say... 3,000 T-72s are still operational. There you go, thank you. It's hard to say if the TOS has actually been fired yet, at least as far as I'm aware. I haven't personally seen a footage of them like, yes, this is definitely a TOS being used in combat. But yeah, no, they are designed for use in urban areas, and for like basically clearing out bunkers and such. How many they say they have and how many they have operational are two very different numbers. Yes, 100% agreed. And that was kind of what do you call it? The big sticking point I had with the Russian Air Force. I'm like, I genuinely don't believe that most of the Russian Air Force is either operational or capable of being operational, or potentially maybe mothballed, air wings. Right.
let's carry on. What do you find the chance of Russia using tactical nuclear weapons? No, I don't believe so. I think that the moment one of those launches, Russia realizes that it's over. Russia realizes it's like that. At that point, the world will respond with nuclear weapons. More than anything, the world's going to see a launch from Russia and not know where it's going. It might be going to Berlin. It might be going to, you know, fucking Poland, Warsaw. It might be going somewhere in NATO, right? You don't... Like, tactical, if you're talking about, like, maybe dropping, like, a bomb that's a nuke or whatever? No. I don't know. Even then, I don't see it. Nuclear weapons are good. They're well, good. Jesus Christ. Clip exactly that, please, and just send it to, I don't know, Hassan. No. They're effective weapons. But at the end of the day, if you need to blow the fuck out of something, there are many options to just conventionally blow the fuck out of it, right? Yeah, no, I don't see that that being a choice that they're ever going to make. A small tactical nuke. The problem with a small tactical nuke is any situation you can use a small tactical nuke for, you can probably also use lots of normal bombs for, and then you don't have to use a nuclear weapon, and you don't end up, you know, in a situation where the world is literally on DEFCON 1 and everyone's getting ready to fire their nukes at you kind of situation, right? You know, you don't want that. It's, you know, Russia doesn't want it as much as anyone else. The biggest thing about the sort of remark about Russia's nuclear arsenal, just to give you an idea, nuclear war would be terrible. It'd be terrible, but we'd win. We'd have the least terrible, which is not something you ever want to actually hear. But the idea is that in the event of actual nuclear warfare, it would be Russia alone against multiple nuclear powers, which is not something Russia wants either. Like, Russia doesn't want that either. We'd still get nuked. Don't doubt about that. Everyone's gonna get nuked. It's gonna fucking suck. But Russia isn't just gonna somehow get away with using nukes, and they're aware of that, and they're not gonna want to do that. If they do, holy shit. Don't forget China. Why would China start firing nukes over Russia? China's best hope in the event of a nuclear war starting between like Russia and the USA and, you know, fucking NATO and everything would just be going, holy shit, it's not us, it's not us, it's not us, it's not us, don't do it. Like, yeah, they could just start launching their nukes. They could. They probably don't want to. Like, you really probably don't want to. The winner of a nuclear war between US and Russia is China? That is actually an amazing point. Yes, because whatever nation is least fucked up is the winner. So yeah, not a good idea. Not something you really want. Yeah, any situation in which nukes are deployed is a terrible situation, and it's not just like it's a bomb but a little bigger. The international community is not going to take it that way. Like, I'd fully expect to even see China turn against Russia if they used a nuke. Like, and I don't mean just like turn against them like they are now, where they're kind of like, oh well, you know, it's abstaining. I mean like fully out against Russia. Right. Is your contact in Kharkiv still okay? Yes. In fact, he messaged me during the stream. Thank God. He is still all good and well. Right. We've got 10 minutes left on this and I'll wrap it up. Is this legit? I'm trying to see. Hold on. Sorry, this is just watching a video right now. Ah, this video. Okay. This is a video of, okay, I think I can show it. Okay, I can show this. Somehow, someone has cropped it perhaps in the worst way humanly possible. So enjoy this literal horizontal video cropped into vertical video. But what this appears to be someone filming a tank. Right, tank's down there, tank's over there. And then the tank seems to shoot at them. That's about all, genuinely all that happens in the video is all I know of it. I do know that it's an actual video. But whether or not it is whether or not it was the tank was actually firing at, like, you know, territorial defense downstairs, or whether the tank thought that the guy in the window was actually, I think it ricochets from the ground. Yeah, he doesn't flinch, which is the crazy part. It's a ricochet, yeah. Then I'm guessing I'm guessing most likely. I would love to look closer, but I'm not sure if you've noticed. I'd have to go find the actual video again, because Jesus Christ. Look at the quality on this. And can I actually... The full video is actually out there. Oh, you are correct. It does indeed look like a ricochet. Holy shit. But yeah, I don't think that's just them aiming at a civilian. I think it's just an unfortunate situation where fucking a civilian has been hit by a ricochet. Well, nearly hit by a ricochet. Yeah, I don't consider that to be like one of those out-and-out war crimes. There's some genuine out-and-out war crimes in there. That doesn't, like, there's very little reason for a tank to shoot at a civilian in a window. So yeah, I fully believe they're engaging something else. What do you know about foreigners and refugees leaving Ukraine? Foreigners and refugees, get out, fine. It's the 18 to 60-year-old males that must stay by law. Whether or not they are getting out is a different question, but the law is that 18 to 60-year-old males, Jesus, there we go, have to stay. Do you believe, from what knowledge you have of the events in Russia, Putin will fall in a coup or assassination to the back? We've already kind of covered this. Also, I like the beard. Thank you. I do believe that... I think, personally, an ousting or, like, a coup is more likely than an assassination. That's what I believe. Though I will not doubt if we start to see attempts on his life. I mean, he probably's already had like a bajillion attempts on his life that he just covers up. But yeah, I reckon that we're more likely to see an ousting rather than a, what do you call it? Than a, oh my God, an assassination. There's so many questions on the last stream, Black Sea area. Has there been any word on the status of the Ukrainian Navy? We covered that earlier about the Pryluki, however you say it. Basically, we've heard bugger all about the Ukrainian Navy. That potential boat being still alive is like the first I've heard of the Ukrainian Navy. Sorry, I can't really help much there, but yeah, it's very little has been sort of spread about the Ukrainian Navy. When the Russian government collapses, all the people do an uprising. That's hard to say. That's really hard to say. Civil things like this are really hard to judge because, for instance, think about Kazakhstan, right? No one expected Kazakhstan to suddenly be in full revolt. Just like overnight, a revolt just started. And that just came around as a kind of like, as of protests and then, the whole bloody, and the fuel prices changing and shit. Like that happening overnight was pretty fucking insane. I could never judge it. You know what? It could be a situation where they keep going for like 3 months with like enforced, martial law and rationing and shit to keep it going, all this sort of stuff. And everyone's fucking heads down. They're complaining about it, but they're not, really uprising. Or it could be that like a week from now, there's a protest and the Russian soldiers run over the protesters with a tank or something. And that just sparks an uprising. So it could be. It's one of those situations where for civil stuff, it's super hard to judge. I'm only gonna go for an hour. Yeah, I've got 2 more minutes left in the stream. Start of the stream had to be cut off, so I'll be wrapping up in just a moment. So sorry to all you guys who haven't got your questions answered. I am gonna wipe this thread. I'm gonna ask fresh questions for the next time we do the stream. But yeah, it's revolts are not something I can really guess. Rimmy, as much as I have sympathy for the Ukraine situation, why would I focus on the creeping tyranny in the West? Why would I focus on that compared to the creeping tyranny in the Western world and more relevant shit to me like Five Eyes and the online harms bill? Because I hate to break it to you, you're able to focus on multiple things at once. And especially in the case of Ukraine, this is a very important, very time-sensitive kind of moment of our generation. No one expected a full-blown conventional war in Ukraine in 2022. Like, that is insanity to say. To say, oh yeah, there's just a full-blown conventional ground war. You don't... Like, that's just something that no one expected would ever happen. It is a defining moment of our generation. It is something to care about because it affects you. Food prices are going to go up. Oil prices are going to go up. It affects you no matter what. I know you might think you're on the other side of the world. It still affects you. For any Europeans, many of us, well, in case I'm in Australia, but even I have friends and family. Not family, sorry. I have friends, rather. In Ukraine, and many Europeans have friends and family in Ukraine. That's massively affecting them. And Americans maybe fucking may have something different. But I mean, the biggest thing to say is overall that like things like Five Eyes and online harm, you're not going to change them overnight. Like, yeah, they should be opposed if they're ungood. You know, they're not good for your you know, they're unhelpful. They're tyrannical, that sort of shit. Yeah, not good. But one bad thing existing doesn't mean that you completely forget about all other bad things existing. And this is just a line used by people to say, why should I care? Well, man, because people are dying in a war, and it fucking sucks, and it shouldn't be happening. You should probably care a little bit about that, because you're not the one having a bomb dropped on your apartment block. All right. Does the Chechen Kadyrov assassins enter this war? Did they get killed, or all the above is fake? The reports are that they did enter Ukraine to hunt down and kill Zelensky, and that they were killed, along with one of their colonels, I believe, in regards to the Chechens. When we stream next? Most likely a week from now, unless there is something major that happens since then. Unless there is, like, loads of news that kind of happens in between now and then. It is something that I'm going to save for... Oh, God, for, what do you call it? Like... Oh, my God, what's the word? For, like, when I've got enough news to actually talk about. Yeah, I am tired, but I'm glad I did this. Gonna go head desk myself a little bit for the fact that I ever tried to open that program again, and annoyed the fact that I literally just misclicked and just didn't press the hide button. Oh well, such is life. If you come around to my house, at least bring a beer before we have a fist fight, because you know I'm running out, so that'd be appreciated. And I think that's the lot. I'm gonna leave you guys off. I don't think there's anything else really to say. There is loads of questions, but I could be here literally all day. Like, I'm just scrolling through hundreds of questions right now. Yeah. So I'm going to wrap up the stream here. I'm not going to end the stream right now. I'm going to quickly go check the super chats, because those people do deserve those to be read out if they have questions. So I'm going to go read through the super chats now. But yeah, that most of the stuff I'm seeing here, a lot of the questions I'm seeing asked, just so you guys know, I've already covered in the stream. I highly recommend, if you think I didn't cover like a major event or something big, I would really just like have a skip through the stream, just like click through and have a skip through, and you'll likely be able to find a lot of the stuff sort of covered already. But yeah, my apologies on the dick around at the start. I wanted this to go a bit faster, but obviously I fucked up at the start, and then whatever. So yeah, that's why. All right, so thank you all. I'm gonna wrap it up here, and let's quickly move on to the super chats. So I'm not gonna go through and thank everyone, because that will literally take quite a while, and I made that clear in the twit longer, and I'm very sorry if you donated, you wanted that stuff, but I'm not doing a fucking gaming stream here. I'm not going, hey, thanks for the biddies kind of thing. I'm trying to do my best to be as educational as possible, which is why when I'm going through these super chats, I'm just answering the questions they ask. Okay, let me do this. And yes, just in case anyone is concerned, it does say up there, the VOD is staying up. Right, supers. Now I have to go back and find where the start of the supers were. Ah, here we go. I can find this. Awesome. Okay, apparently there was super chats while I was off stream. Oh no, this is from the deleted video. Sorry, from the one that I posted earlier. Alright, let me, fuck off, bot. Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you for everyone who continues to hit on me while I'm trying to report on a war. It makes me feel nice. Let's see what else we've got. Oh, fucking hell. I've got to thank you, YouTube. My YouTube just crashed. Very, very cool, YouTube servers. Thank you for that. Right. Well, sorry, super chats. I'll read more in a moment, but it's my fucking studio has genuinely just crashed. Hey, there we go. It's back. All right. Anyway. Right. Thank you to Kay for giving $5 and saying this message was worth 513 rubles. Don't push yourself and stay hydrated. I am. I have lots of water bottles. I am a very hydrated boy. We stay hydrated. Honestly, props doing this at all. Which been insane. Yep. What do you think the irony of Putin saying he wants to denazify Ukraine, but then a Russian missile hits Kiev's Holocaust museum? A memorial, rather, sorry. I think it's just this war in a nutshell. It's, you know, as much as obviously I don't want the wars, and, you know, it's bad, but it really does just make me kind of annoyed that we have to pretend that there's a reason that this war has to happen, right? The reason is they want to take over Ukraine, right? But we have to pretend there's another reason. And it's moments like this where it's like, it's the same shit as like the WMDs in Iraq and shit. Like, you know, don't... I hate the fucking, that even in modern day, actually, I mean, I guess more in modern day than anything, rather, we have that moment where we're like, well, you know, they attacked a radio station, therefore we must destroy their entire country. You know, that sort of shit. Anyway. I heard about Russian soldiers being captured and saying how they didn't know what they'd be fighting. How much do you believe their commanders didn't tell them? I do believe that there is awful communications between the commanders and what actually was doing. Like what specific units were doing. Whether all of them are telling the truth, I don't believe so. I imagine a lot of them are using the I don't know anything as a defense to, you know, not get fucking, you know, interrogated or fucking, you know, taken in or whatever, like that sort of stuff. I fully believe that's the situation. But, you know, often ground troops aren't told, like, grand strategic objectives. Ground troops are never really told more than they need to know. One big thing is that often ground troops, or, like, you know, even up to commander elements in those sort of infantry areas, often aren't issued maps until, like, they're ready for the attack. Like, okay, here's the map of the attack, here's what we're doing, right? One of the big ways in World War II people would fake out, you know, what they were kind of planning to do. They would drop fake maps, and not just like fake maps of like, oh, here's where we're gonna go, just fake maps of locations. Because if all the troops are suddenly starting to get maps of like Alexandria, well, hold on a moment, why are they all getting maps of Alexandria? And that kind of leads into people thinking that they're, what do you call it? That they're actually going to invade that area. It doesn't even have to be a map with markings on it. The ownership of the map is enough to give some intelligence to the opposing force. Oryx's website has documented over 500 Russian equipment losses, already 3-1 on Ukrainian losses. Yes, that's the one I linked earlier. The missile didn't actually hit the main building museum itself, but another missile hit the gym that 190 meters away from the tower. Thank you for the clarification there. Either way, honestly, it's one of those things where they weren't aiming for the Holocaust Memorial. Like, I would be fucking mind blown if someone somewhere went Holocaust Memorial on a map and fired at it. They probably just fucking missed, or they probably were aiming for something else and hit that instead. Which is still not like an excuse. It's not a good thing. This shouldn't be happening. But I don't think they were going out of their way to be like, yes, we must destroy the Holocaust Memorial. Like, there's a point where it's just like literally cartoonishly evil, and that's just not what people would. Yeah, anyway. Let's see. I'm glad I'm born and raised Australian. New Zealand isn't exactly coming to take Tassie off us, so they're welcome to it. Given your accent, I thought you're from Bristol. I'm not British. I don't know what you're talking about. 3 streams like last time? No, just 2 streams this time. But we're improving. We're improving. Is that... I think you're trying to say Zelensky there? Zelensky is referred to as a hero by the Iranian president. Putin really messed up. He's written Kalinsky, but I assume he means Zelensky? I believe so. I'm sorry if you actually meant something else, but yeah, that I do agree. Zelensky has absolutely stepped up to the plate. Getting more news... Getting more news from you than from Command, lol. Thank you very much, man. Saw the thing about the guy and his dogs being murdered, not happy. Yeah, no, that is straight up the worst footage I've seen of this war. That man's screams are fucking heart-wrenching. Someone asked me in the first stream if I am, like, disturbed with seeing bodies, and I'm not. Like, I can look at bodies and death and whatever. But the thing that disturbs me more than bodies, like, you know, a video of someone dead doesn't really affect me. What does? Oh. Yeah, no, my thumbnail says Russia. Yeah, Russia. It's the Russo-Ukrainian war. It's not Russia-Ukrainian war. It's literally... Hang on, if I... Real quick. Sorry, I'll go back to my point in just a moment. Just to real quick clarify. It is the Russo-Ukrainian war. See? It's not Russia-Ukrainian war. Anyway. No, yeah, what I said was the
the videos that do actually kind of affect me, and the videos that are fucked up, are the ones of people dying. Not dead people, but dying. Because, yeah, that shit fucking sucks. Seeing people's last moments is never nice. Just got here. Any idea what's stopping Russian convoy north of Kiev from being blasted to dust by air artillery? Because it's probably not that real, and they probably are actively engaging it. Just remember, just because we haven't heard that, you know, Ukraine is doing something doesn't mean they aren't doing something, right? Often we only find out Ukraine was doing a thing after they've done it. Like, oh yeah, we counterattacked in this place, by the way, and we won. Or like, the counterattack is already underway kind of situation. Very rarely are they like, hey guys, heads up, we're counterattacking, because you know, it's just going to give the Russians warning, right? So yeah, very much, I believe again, it's not one convoy. It'll be multiple convoys, and they are being attacked. Like, convoys are being attacked, but to the extent that they're being attacked, it depends. Ukraine's artillery is obviously not as extensive as Russia's, and their air force may be being driven back by, you know, what's called air defenses around the convoy, because that's what you want. You know, you're going to be deploying air defenses to protect your convoys. Every day, the Russian soldier's paycheck is going to mean less. Unpaid soldiers have an interesting track record towards their employers. You are 100% correct. I fully believe that we're going to probably see more and more surrenders as this war carries on, because, you know, if you're not getting paid, you have no equipment, you're genuinely like taking losses to the Ukrainians, you don't have much reason to stay fighting. Like, really, what? That's the biggest reason, is the Ukrainians have a genuine reason to fight. They're home. It is their home. The Russians, not many of them are really sat there like, yes, I can't wait to reclaim Ukraine. Russo. Yeah, it is Russo. But yeah, sorry. Anyway, my bad. I'm getting tired. Ukraine's ability to resist is eroding quickly. We've been fed propaganda. They're showing their losses. They're trying to keep it quiet. See, I just absolutely disagree there. The fact is that Russia, despite being a superpower, neighboring this nation, hasn't gotten, like, anywhere near their day one objectives. And it's been a week. Their air force doesn't have air superiority, doesn't have air supremacy that it should have. You know, Ukrainian Air Force is still flying, is still attacking with helicopters and drones. It's not a resistance war yet. It's still a conventional conflict with conventional, you know, fucking engagements. I mean, hell yeah, I absolutely believe the Ukrainians are keeping their losses quiet, which is why I try and find the truth as best I can. But to assume this, to assume that they're just gonna die, well, if their ability to resist is eroding quickly, why have the Russians only just taken one city? And by taken, I mean retaken a city they already took. And from all the footage, there was barely any defenders in there. There was only territorial defense. There was no vehicle footage we came out of there. There was no combat footage either on pro-Russian sources either for that combat. So, I don't know. This is as much of a summary that we're being fed propaganda. Are you not? Do you not think you're also being fed propaganda? Do you not think everyone's being fed propaganda? That's what we're trying to do here. We're looking at both sides of the propaganda and trying to find out what the actual truth is. But the reality of the situation is that only one major city is in Russia's control. And wow, that's bad. That's really bad. They have air superiority but not air supremacy. The problem is that they honestly kind of don't. In some areas they do. In Kharkiv, it's reported they have air superiority. But in many areas, they just don't. They're being consistently downed, and like Ukrainian aircraft are still operating. Yeah, it depends on like the east side. I can definitely agree. There's a lot more, a lot more air superiority from the Russians, especially in Kharkiv where they're constantly being airstruck. But yeah, no, it's nuts. You're 15 over. Yeah, I'm going to the super chats at this point. What are your thoughts, if anything, on America / the media's 180 flip on Russia Putin while still relying on them for foreign oil? I'm confused as to what you mean by this. America or the media's 180 flip on Russia / Putin? You're saying the fact that they think that they were going to war, or that they don't like Russia, or that they don't like Putin? I'm a little confused. I genuinely just don't know what you're actually like referring to with this.
I don't know. There are multiple news networks. Some news networks in what do you call it? In America, like, are supporting, or not even supportive, but like are like dismissive of Ukraine and are like dismissive of NATO and shit like that. So I don't know. Maybe they mean like Republicans or Democrats. Yeah, I don't. But even the people that like the Democrats hate, like, you know, like how dare these, like, you know, how dare these Republicans, you know, fucking, you know, go with Putin, whatever. I mean, I've seen a lot of Republicans speak out against Russia and against Putin, especially the veterans. I don't know. It's hard to judge there. Fox News flipping. I guess I don't know. I don't watch Fox News. I hate to break it to you Americans, but no one watches your news outside of your country. Like, the best we get is occasionally we see clips online and we laugh at it and we're like, what the fuck are they talking about? Like, yeah, I just genuinely don't know. That's something I can't really speak on. Russian from Romania here. Romania government blocked all my savings until further notice. Holy shit, I'm actually sorry to hear that. Paying with LLC, good luck to us all. Well, I hope you do. I mean, holy shit, I don't know why you're giving money to me. I've just realized. Holy shit, dude. Dude, yeah, fucking stay safe. I really hope you do actually get your money back once that happens, because I do know there's a lot of Russians looking to move out of Russia, and that is definitely preferable to being there still. Rimmy, I'm toying with the idea of contacting the Ukrainian embassy in London and joining the Foreign Legions. Should I? Okay, this is something I've actually been asked many times. Now, I can't stop you. I can't tell you not to. All right? Well, I mean, sorry, I can't. I can tell you not to. I can't stop you. At the end of the day, it's your decision. But here's the big thing to think about volunteers. I wish I'd covered it earlier in my stream. I really wish I had, but I'm glad I'm covering it at the end at least. Volunteers are not, you know, they're not just like an open way for anyone untrained to just come in and fight. Like, yeah, if you get into the country and you're just like, hey, I'm gonna fight, odds are they'll give you a gun and say, all right, sure. But the intention from volunteers is mostly ex-military or, you know, veterans, right? To come and bring their military experience to the conflict, right? They're not looking for untrained, unknowing civilians. They have plenty of those in Ukraine. If they just want someone to hold a gun, there are plenty of Ukrainians who can do that for them. And the biggest advantage those Ukrainians have is that they can speak Ukrainian. If you can't speak Ukrainian, you're gonna be a bit of a liability. And if you can't speak Ukrainian and aren't trained in the military, you're gonna be an even more liability. Because this isn't a case of like a situation where you're gonna go join the volunteers and they'll train you for a few weeks and then, you know, after, you'll get some basic Ukrainian, you have a month or whatever of training. This is not that. This is volunteers going into direct combat, which is why they want people with military experience. Yeah, my best advice I can say is do not volunteer without prior military experience. And if you're going, like, I could understand more if you were a neighboring country, right? If you were like Slovakian or Polish or something like that, I can absolutely understand there, because at least then you live close, you have a genuine reason to defend, and also you're far more likely to actually know the language. The problem is you've given me Great British pounds, which makes me guess that you're gonna be from Britain and speak English. Just statistically, you probably don't speak Ukrainian. And that alone is enough of an issue that, you're going to be causing problems. And that's whether or not the embassy lets you. Because embassies are saying no for certain countries. So yeah. It's very much something I warn against, because I've had like 18-year-olds message me and be like, I want to go fight in Ukraine. And you know what? I get it. I'm a young man. I'm a young man that studied military stuff my whole fucking life. No shit. Hell yeah, if it was next door, like if it was fucking like, New South Wales and they were being invaded by, I don't know, China, I'd go fight. Yeah, like, I mean, like, goddamn, yeah, it's I get the drive to do it. And one of the biggest reasons I can see why is, it's gonna sound like a weird term, this is one of the first good wars we've had in a very long time. And by a good war, I don't mean it's a good war. War's great. What I mean is that there is an actual, like, genuine, undeniable reason to fight for one side, which is defend Ukraine, right? The problem with a lot of the other wars, like, you go for, like, Iraq, well, on one side it's fighting for, you know, Saddam's Iraq. On the other side, it's invading Saddam's Iraq on bullshit claims. It's not great. It's a just war. Yeah, a just war. Since like World War II, I can't think of many other wars that really have this sort of this exact, you know, sort of, yes, this is a clear line of morality of you don't want to be with these guys, you do want to be with these guys. So yeah, it's I can get the urge. I fully understand the urge, but there are many other ways to help without putting yourself. Korea's honestly probably the next best. I'd say, yeah, Korea's probably the next closest to a just war we've had in quite a long time. But yeah, you can help out in many other ways. Remember, it's for every one soldier on the front line, there are 9 soldiers in the back line. You can go give humanitarian aid. You can work as a medic or as just, you know, a food worker, so, you know, handing out food and water to the people. You can go sign up for an NGO and help them. You can go and help refugees in Poland or Slovakia. There are many, many ways to help out that don't involve picking up a gun. And believe me, I mean, the gun one sounds the funnest. But if you don't have fucking military training, you're just going to be a liability. You don't speak Ukrainian, you don't have military training, you're going to be a liability. And they probably won't even take you. It really depends. Right. There are only 20 T-14s. They're all in an engine. They're all in a warehouse without any engines. Their engine company went bankrupt and defaulted years ago, killing the program. I'm not 100% sure how true that is, but I'm interested in looking that up later. Thank you for that information. Do you think Russia can fix these command and communication issues and renew their attack with better cooperation, or are they going to be like this the whole war? The problem is that any time Russia spends stopping their attacks and fixing these issues, because they can delay and send more logistics and send more radios. Remembering that still people, when they are sat still require logistics, still require ammunition to fend off Ukrainian counterattacks, still require food, still require fuel, right? They still require these things whilst they're sat still, but obviously less than when they're assaulting. So whilst I do think they can do that, every day that they sit still is a day that they weaken further from the sanctions, and is a day that Ukraine strengthens from just the intense amount of international support they get. And also, Ukraine's on the defense. Every day that they delay is a day that Ukraine digs another trench, that Ukraine sets another anti-tank trap, that Ukraine fucking, you know, sends out another ambush team and hits another logistics truck. They do not want to delay. Like, there is reason that they don't want to. Remember watching a video from Task and Purpose where he said that the basic Russian fleet doesn't seem to have night vision. It seems to be thought bizarre. Thoughts on his take on that? I do agree that's absolutely bizarre. But an important thing to remember is that the night vision capabilities, whilst definitely better on the Russian side, both sides have night vision capabilities. It isn't a case of like, you know, like you're fighting the Taliban or whatever, where like the average Taliban soldier doesn't have night vision optics, right? Most people, so at least most elements in Ukraine and Russia on both sides will have some sort of night vision or thermal vision, right? And I mean, hell, there was a whole group that purchased and delivered like $50,000 worth of FLIR and night vision equipment to Ukraine. This is a private group that did this. So the important thing to remember there is even good night vision is still not better than normal vision. Like, as long as if you want to launch an attack and your enemy has the same night vision capabilities you do, you kind of end up wanting just launching it during the day, which is what they did. Russia only launched their attack when the morning came, on the first day. So, yeah, it's I don't know. I think it's strange they don't have night vision. They're going to have better night vision than the Ukrainians, but I don't know. It's hard to say, like, how bizarre that really is, because at the end of the day, they're just going to engage during the day. At the end of the day, they're going to engage during the day. You heard Russia wasn't allowed in World Figure Skating? Yes. Heard Russia's been kicked from many things. Kicked from FIFA as well, the soccer tournaments. Remember, this map colors areas with tenacious occupation at best in some spots. Yes, I absolutely agree. Thank you very much. What are your thoughts on propaganda and censorship war? That is actively what I'm engaged in. Take your choice, which side? No, I'm actively, like, the propaganda war is something that is going to continue to be raged. It's not going to stop. It's not going to fucking, magically go away. What is interesting, though, is that Russia has almost entirely ceded the propaganda sort of atmosphere to Ukraine because Russia has become such a pariah and so many of their news networks have been cut. It's pretty much just Ukraine reporting that we're getting out of you. Like, to get Russian reporting, you have to go into Russian, forums or Russian news areas or, people who are listening in or hear it from Russians. It's far more difficult to hear things from the Russian side, from the Russian propaganda in the West. So the information environment is pretty much Ukraine's, which, yes, as someone else has said, is a dangerous thing if all we ever hear about is Ukrainian victories. And then one day we go, wait, they lost the capital? Wait, really? Just like straight up, they lost the capital? But I thought they were winning everything, kind of. Like, there's been many moments like that in history. Right. One of my university maths lectures was an engineer on the original build of that plane. This is in reference to the AN-255, the massive, the biggest plane in the world. He's already said he's going home to help rebuild it when he can. That is very sweet. Confirmation on the assassins. We talked about that earlier. The Chechen assassins were reported being killed by Ukrainians. They were reported by the Ukrainians as liquidated. Another reason they may not fight is for religious reasons. Very good point. Very good point. Ukraine actually took some land back in Kiev. Let me have a quick look. Oh, hang on. No, I have already seen this one, yeah. Right. There was someone who just gave money to say, Bayraktar. Okay. Russia will use vacuum bombs. What are those? Okay. So let's talk about that real quick. That is a thermobaric weapon. Essentially, now this is someone who just is, describing this from like the top of the range knowledge. I've fucking never looked into thermobaric weapons heavily, but I can give the basic idea of what they are, right? So the intent is that they're used against field fortifications. That's the idea, that they're intentionally an anti-fortification style weapon. The initial explosive charge detonates as it hits the target, it opens the container, and a fuel mixture disperses into a cloud, right? The blast wave of a thermobaric weapon then lasts significantly longer than a conventional condensed weapon. So, basically, it's a fuel-air explosive, right? So, it reacts with oxygen. It's 25% fuel, 75% oxidizer, and here we go. Oh, so sorry. That's a conventional weapon. It's 25% fuel, 70% oxidizer. Thermobaric weapons are 100% fuel, right? But they need oxygen, right, to actually explode, which is why they're fuel air, right? One thing that they're reported to do, like, obviously they do big blast wave. They're a big actual like impact. That's the main reason why they're useful against bunkers and such. But they also suck the air out. They're like, it's a genuine, they burn up the air. It is really bad to die to one of these. It is sort of like a lung crush moment when they, because all the oxygen goes into that explosive, right, and then explodes. Yeah, no, that's not a nice weapon to die by. But now I'm gonna say this. I genuinely have no idea if they're like against the Geneva Convention. I don't think they are. Many things you think are against the Geneva Convention aren't. But yeah. Well, no, the thermobarics still do use a vacuum effect. That is why they're referred to as vacuum bombs. But it's not like that's what a thermobaric weapon is. The thermobaric weapons have like 10 different names. Thermobaric weapon, aerosol bomb, fuel air explosive, vacuum bomb. It's just fuel air explosive again. I don't know why that's it. They're not. Is currently debated though. Okay, gotcha. So yeah, they're the same thing. When someone says vacuum bomb or thermobaric weapon or a fuel air explosive, they're all the same thing. They're all the same general idea. They're flamethrowers, bro. Yeah, they certainly throw a lot of flame, a really long distance. The problem with saying they're illegal against civilian targets is that, like, so is everything. Most things are illegal against civilian targets. There's very little that is, like, allowed. Right. Basically, here we go. The most common idea of a thermobaric weapon, if you're like thinking, oh, what is a thermobaric weapon, would be the TOS-1, which is essentially, here we go, which is the rocket launcher we looked at earlier, which is known as a TOS-1, what is it, heavy flamethrower system. So it fires thermobaric rockets, which are flames, heavy flames being thrown. Bush or PGR? I genuinely have no idea who the fuck or what PGR is. So, PGR cannabis? I don't know. Bro, I got no clue. I don't know what you're asking. Russia is putting their nukes on standby. Do you think Putin would use them even if the West doesn't get involved? I don't think so. I think him putting the nukes on standby are just a like... It's a flex, right? It's a, hey, don't forget I have these moment, right? Okay. Are there any credible sources on what the Russian population thinks about it? It's probably best to look on social media for that. I've had posts by people sent to me. The biggest issue that people have with posting about, about their actual feelings about the Russo-Ukrainian war from Russia, is that at this point it's it's 15 years in jail if you post untrue things about the army. So people are not going to be posting it with their actual names because they're going to get in this shit. People are already getting arrested at anti-war protests. Right? I've spoken to one who got arrested at an anti-war protest. What exact numbers support Putin and what don't, it's hard to say. No, I know I said I was going off stream 10 minutes ago, but I went through all the super chats, and it turns out there's a lot of questions of super chats. But yeah, you're going to see posts on the best way is social media, but more anonymous social media is probably the better way. What are your thoughts on Putin's misuse of the VDV? I touched on that a lot earlier in terms of the inter-service capability stuff. I think it's been, honestly, a travesty. The VDV have been massively misused, just doing, their own little operations and then just getting wiped out every time. What if Russia colluded with China for funds and maintenance materials? They probably won't. I know that China's already said that they were halting, I think it was loans for, I think it was purchases of raw material or something. They were halting something from Russia because of the sanctions. They just didn't think that Russia could pay. I don't know. China might try and profit off of it, but I don't think that this is going to be a situation where, people seem to think that China and Russia just kiss each other's buttholes far more than they actually do. Didn't one of Russia's businessmen put a bounty on Putin? Yes, it's up there. But it's not a bounty to kill, it's a bounty to arrest. Do you play Custodes? No. Don't play 40k anymore. I think that's the lot. Let's just refresh real quick. And... oh. Anyone, is anyone on Twitter / Discord helping you with the OS? I have teams I'm working with for OS int / disinformation, revealing that stuff. Guys, you gotta stop donating because I am actually just gonna cut them off at a certain point. I need to go. The Bush, Reagan, McCain era Republicans are against Russia, but Trump era Republicans won't speak out against him because Trump likes him and their congressional primaries going on right now, so they want Trump support. Okay. Lord Miles is in Kiev. I know. I've spoken to him. Would you try to fight a major ground war with the GDP of Spain? Because that's what Russia is doing. Yeah, I'm very much aware. That is insane how little money Russia truly has. But they still have the military fucking technology set around. Have you considered doing a video breaking down how modern wars are fought in terms of organization, tactics, and strategies? No, I don't think I'd be the best person to do that. And I'm also just not... that's not what my channel really does. And that would be the sort of thing I wouldn't be comfortable, talking about until I did ages of reviewing. You think if Russia gets desperate enough from either the war or sanctions, he might use one nuke as an attempt to strong-arm NATO? I really do not think so. I think any attempt at a nuke is straight up just warfare. Just international pariah. I genuinely believe that the use of a nuke will lead to the dismantling of the Russian state. Just entirely. I don't think anyone is going to sit around and just be like, yep, let's just let them get away with it. I don't think that's going to happen. Unless you mean, firing a nuke into, a wilderness area and being like, look what we can do. That's an equally terrible idea. But I still think that's a terrible idea. Just like, yeah, no. Anyway. Okay. That is all for now. Thank you all for coming. As always, I'm going to reference the little stream dump in the bottom. Here, I'm going to just drop this info dump in chat. The playlist will continue to expand as I go for more. Oh, hang on. That's too big. Let me just, Okay, this is the info dump. Here you go. Oh, God, I need to cut out some shit here. Well, it's the link dump, rather. So there's the charities. And there's some Twitter feeds you might want to have a read. Nice. Okay. Goodbye, everyone. Stay safe. And I'm gonna get back to actually like working on, you know, gaming videos for that. The whole Twitlonger. If I actually hang on, I'm also gonna post the Twitlonger before I leave, because I do highly recommend you give a read of that. It covers all my thoughts on the situation, what I'm actually intending on doing. Here we go. Let me. Here we go, guys. Have a read of this music playlist. This is called 80s Retro Synthwave Mix Miami Vice by a person on YouTube called Whitebat. And it's now off. All right, fellow everyone, there you go. Have a read of that. Farewell. Goodbye.